Chapter 11. Oliver's point of view. We trailed in, a quiet procession, as Isla led the way into the expansive pack house. A low hum of admiration settled in my chest, a feeling I knew was shared by the powerful males surrounding her. It truly was remarkable how she commanded respect, a quiet authority settling over us, even though she was flanked by individuals who, by their very nature, were born to dominate. There was Callum, along with Sebastian, the undeniable alphas of the formidable Dorge Organization. Then, our fathers, Alpha Harrison and Alpha Jasper, who led the ancient Blood Moon pack with unwavering strength. And of course, Henry and I, next in line, the future alphas of this very pack. Yet, here she was, undeniably in charge, and not a single one of us, not even our wolves stirring beneath our skins, had a moment's protest. It was simply accepted. We settled into the cavernous living room, a space built to accommodate the shifting forms and robust energy of a full wolf pack. It was immense, with deep, comfortable couches and chairs that invited lounging. Isla, Henry, and I claimed one sprawling sofa, our bodies sinking into the plush cushions. Callum and Sebastian took another, their easy camaraderie evident, while our fathers each chose their own individual chairs, radiating an aura of thoughtful power. I broke the comfortable silence, the urgency of our situation pressing on me. So, I began, the word a sharp blade cutting through the air. How exactly are we hitting the hunter base? Every breath, every second, is critical for Mom's survival. We don't have time to waste. Callum, with his usual calm authority, took the lead. The intelligence we gathered, the schematics of the Hunter HQ, points to Georgiana being held in the basement. It's been converted into a makeshift prison. There are several access points, but one in particular is right near the main entrance, which simplifies things. The plan is for Isla to take up a sniper position. Oliver and Henry, you'll be leading the charge with the Alpha's wolves, the main fighting force. And the Alphas themselves, Ryder and Asher, will be solely focused on finding Georgiana. A hot wave of resentment, sharp and unwelcome, surged through me. My wolf stirred, a low growl in my chest, demanding to be near my mother. Why couldn't I be the one to find her? The thought burned, an irritant, and I felt the impulse to voice my objection. I opened my mouth, the words already forming. Why can't I go look for Mom? I heard myself whine, and even as the childish tone left my lips, I didn't care. Sometimes, I allowed myself that indulgence. I was only 16, after all, a fact that seemed to constantly escape everyone's memory. Callum shot me a look, one that said he was considering whether to swat me or simply sigh. Sebastian, ever the diplomat, stepped in. Because, Oliver, he explained patiently, Georgiana is their true mate. Her scent, her very essence, is exponentially stronger to them, a beacon that calls to their wolves with an irresistible pull. Once they're inside, their inner beasts will take over. Nothing, and I mean nothing, will stop them from getting to their mate. The logic, though frustrating, was irrefutable. I had no counter-argument, and so, I remained silent, my annoyance still a lingering ember. Henry, always practical, shifted the conversation. Where is Isla's sniper gear? It's in the helicopter, Callum replied, his gaze sweeping over the traditionally styled living room. We anticipated that a traditional wolf pack wouldn't necessarily have the kind of advanced weaponry we rely on. I've never understood that, I interjected, a long-standing frustration bubbling to the surface. This stubborn refusal of packs to use guns. Every battle we've witnessed, every brutal fight, is fought with teeth and claws, in raw wolf form. So much of that could be avoided. A quick, decisive shot to the heart, and it's over. Honor, Asher retorted, his voice deep and resonant, a staunch defender of ancient ways. Suicidal, more like it, Isla shot back instantly, her eyes glinting with a sharp, modern pragmatism. Callum leaned conspiratorially toward Ryder, a smirk playing on his lips. They could go on like this for days, you know. Bickering. You might want to let your twin know he's fighting a battle he's destined to lose. Ryder, with an equally dramatic flair, sighed theatrically. Same genes, all of them. Equally stubborn, every single one. You included? Sebastian chimed in, a knowing look exchanged between them. Same genes, remember? Ryder chuckled, a warm, rumbling sound. Oh, yes, me included. But I possess a rare talent that seems to have eluded my brother. I know how to pick my fights. Asher scowled, but the corner of his mouth twitched, betraying his amusement. Come on, let's focus. Our warriors will follow our sons into the fray. These hunters have been nothing but a thorn in our side for far too long. I assume you've already picked out a sniper hideout. Isla's voice was crisp, cutting to the chase. We have, Sebastian confirmed. I rose, a sense of readiness settling over me. Then we're good to go. Let's gather the warriors, the fighters, whatever you want to call them. We need them ready. Ryder and Asher's eyes glazed over, a familiar sign that they were reaching out, mind-linking their pack, summoning their forces. When their gazes refocused, Ryder nodded. Our warriors will meet us here in an hour. Excellent. We'll bring them back to the Dorge HQ through the tunnels, Callum stated. Wait, what tunnels? Ryder questioned, a hint of surprise in his voice. Underground, I explained, gesturing vaguely downward. There's an extensive network of tunnels. Don't worry, they stop just at the edge of your territory, but they're significantly faster than traveling above ground. Then let's get prepared, Isla ordered, her voice firm, leaving no room for argument. One last thing, Callum interjected, a serious note entering his voice. We need to talk to the warriors before we head to Dorge. John, for example, is a rogue from this very pack, now part of our organization. And there will be vampires, demons, fallen angels, witches. We absolutely cannot have anyone starting a fight. I can do it, I volunteered instantly, my voice ringing with conviction. Okay, then it's settled, Asher agreed, a rare smile gracing his lips. Henry stretched, his muscles rippling under his shirt. We need some gear. I saw some when we were running through the pack house earlier. Let's go for real now. Time to arm up. An hour later, we stood outside the pack house, facing the assembled warriors. A formidable force, eager for battle. Callum had insisted I address them, believing my dual lineage would carry weight. I raised my voice, letting it carry across the gathered crowd, an alpha's roar intended to command attention. Listen up. I am Oliver Pembroke, son of Alpha Harrison and Alpha Jasper. I am also, in part, in charge of the Dorge Organization. Your Luna, my mother, has been captured by hunters. For her to return to us, safe and sound, we need your full cooperation. My brother, my sister, and I will escort you to the organization's headquarters. A wolf from the back, his voice thick with suspicion, called out, Is that all? I ignored him, my gaze unwavering as I continued. As you know, the Dorge Organization embraces any rogue of any species, as long as they weren't cast out for something truly horrendous. This means that there will be wolves there from this very pack. A collective cry of outrage rippled through the crowd, sharp and immediate. And vampires, another, louder cry of outrage erupted, a wave of primal distrust. And other species. We expect you not to confront anyone. Any aggression will not be tolerated. A burly warrior, his eyes narrowed with defiance, stepped forward. How can we make a deal with traitors and leeches? Rage, pure and hot, flared through me. Some of those traitors and leeches were my closest friends, people I considered family. I saw the same fury flash in Henry's eyes, the set of Isla's jaw, and the tightening of Sebastian and Callum's expressions. Henry utterly blew his top, his voice a dangerous growl. I was under the distinct impression that this pack desperately wanted a Luna. Right now, it sounds like you'd be happier if we just kept her for ourselves. Another cry of outrage, a deeper, more profound one, swept through the warriors. They knew the truth, any pack was stronger, more vibrant, more attuned when their true Luna walked among them. An interim Luna might suffice, might be better than nothing, but she could never replace the soul-deep connection of a true Luna. And the mere thought of their true Luna dying would send a physical shockwave of pain through the entire pack. Then, a respected elder wolf, his voice calm amidst the rising tension, spoke. I might not have a fondness for vampires, or other creatures, but I will deal with them for our Luna. After all, I can't judge someone whose identity I truly don't know, whose story I haven't heard. Isla, ever the pragmatist, stepped forward, her voice cutting through the remaining murmurs. I can assure you that no member of the organization is a murderer. If one of our own breaks the rules, the penalties are far harsher than anything you'd find in a pack. It is death. That simple, chilling statement did what no amount of yelling could. It shut the others right up. Their heads bowed meekly, a silent acknowledgement of the ironclad rule, and they fell into line, cooperating. I clapped my hands together, the sound echoing in the sudden silence. Now that we have your full cooperation, we will get going. I started walking, Callum, Sebastian, Asher, Ryder, Henry, and Isla falling into step beside or just ahead of me. We did it. We succeeded. We got the help we so desperately needed. Just wait, Mom. We're coming for you. Hold on. Chapter 12. Henry's point of view. The last of our group emerged from the cool, earthy embrace of the tunnels, blinking in the filtered light of our headquarters. As I brought up the rear, I made a mental note, firm and unwavering, would personally ensure that the entrance we'd used was sealed tight. While I trusted the pack, to a certain degree, one could never be too cautious when it came to security, especially with so much at stake. The journey through the underground passages had been remarkably silent, a collective unspoken agreement to conserve energy, to focus on the task ahead. What truly made these tunnels remarkable, though, was the subtle magic woven into their very fabric. Our resident witch, a reclusive but incredibly powerful being, had enchanted them, making the journey not only faster but almost effortlessly so. Normally, trekking above ground to reach headquarters from the pack house would take a grueling hour or two. Underground, thanks to her ancient spells, we covered the distance in a mere 30 minutes. It was a piece of magic I truly loved, a testament to the fading, nearly extinct race of witches, warlocks, and wizards. The alpha kings of the supernatural world, those ancient, power-hungry rulers, had systematically hunted them down, eradicating them for their immense magical capabilities. In fact, a significant portion of the surviving magical folk were under our protection, sheltered within the Dorge Organization's formidable walls. It was a choice that had undoubtedly, undeniably, infuriated the Alpha Kings, particularly the Alpha King of North and South America. And honestly, we weren't sorry. Not one bit. We're here, Callum announced, his voice cutting through the quiet, pulling me back to the present. Not that I would ever admit it to anyone, not even my closest allies, but a knot of worry tightened in my stomach. Wolves and vampires, they didn't exactly play nice. Outside the strict confines of the Dorge Organization, their interactions were rarely cordial, often ending in bloodshed. Within our organization, the rules were crystal clear, enforced with an iron fist wrapped in a velvet glove. A single fight, a mere skirmish, and both perpetrators would find themselves cast out onto rogue land, faster than they could even manage to say in Mississippi. The wolves from the Blood Moon Pack, steeped in tradition and ancient rivalries, were simply not accustomed to such stringent rules, to such forced coexistence. I hung back, a sentinel, watching each person ascend the ladder into our sprawling home. A silent prayer, a hopeful whisper, formed in my mind, please, let this go well. Of course, that's not what happened. The very moment the pack wolves stepped foot into the vast mess hall, the lively chatter, the clatter of dishes, the easy hum of conversation, everything died. The silence that descended was deafening, a thick, suffocating blanket. Every eye in the room, from the vampires leaning against the walls to the shifters gathered at tables, fixed on the newcomers. And it wasn't a friendly stare. No, this was the kind of stare that bared fangs and teeth, that tensed muscles, that screamed, ready for a fight. I knew I had to speak up. Isla, bless her heart, was too fiercely protected by everyone in this room. If she spoke, if she even made a move, there was a real risk that they might interpret it as a challenge and attack the pack wolves. Oliver, my twin, was a fighter, a warrior, and in this heightened atmosphere, He'd be just as eager for a confrontation as they were, though his rage was rightly aimed at the hunters. I, however, carried a certain weight, a blend of respect and healthy fear. My voice, I knew, would be heard above the others. I cleared my throat, the small sound echoing in the unnatural quiet. All eyes, sharp and assessing, swiveled to me. "Hey," I began, my voice calm but firm. "I don't know if Callum and Sebastian had the chance to tell most of you, but Georgiana, our Luna, our mother, has been taken by hunters." A collective gasp, sharp and audible, rippled through the room. It was clear then, Callum and Sebastian, in their haste, hadn't informed the majority of our people. I continued, letting the gravity of the situation settle. It wasn't just any hunter group either. This was the mother group, the source. And these wolves, I gestured vaguely toward the Blood Moon Pack members, they come from the Blood Moon Pack. Max, a burly werewolf who had been brutally turned rogue by that very pack, let out a low, guttural growl, a sound of ancient pain and simmering vengeance. "Cut it off, Max," I commanded, my voice sharper now. "We need their help." Either way, the twin alphas, Ryder and Asher, are Georgiana's true mates. Mom specifically told us to go to them because this hunter group is too large, too powerful, for us to attack on such short notice. And as you know, we could take down the group eventually, but by then, Georgiana would be dead. So, listen carefully, no one is allowed to start confrontations. No one attacks any wolf here. You know the rules. Stefan, a pale-skinned vampire, his eyes glinting, asked, "Do we have to?" His tone was reluctant, but tinged with a flicker of understanding. I let out a light chuckle, a sound that helped to diffuse some of the remaining tension. "Unfortunately, yes. For Mom, I would do anything. Remember the time we found you, Stefan? You were so starved, so weak, and she volunteered to feed you, without a moment's hesitation, no matter the dangers involved." Stefan nodded, his gaze distant with memory. "Yes," he murmured, "I remember. And I will cooperate with these mutts to return the favor of saving my life." Lorene, another werewolf, who had been brutally forced into rogue status by her own pack and now, improbably, was Stefan's mate, playfully punched his arm. "Hey," she teased, a mischievous sparkle in her eyes, "am I a mutt too?" Everyone in the room, save for Stefan, could tell Lorene wasn't serious. She wasn't genuinely mad at him, even as she feigned offense. Stefan, however, looked genuinely panicked. "That's not what I meant, sweetie," he stammered, his usual cool composure crumbling. "You know that. It's the pack wolves who are the mutts, not you." Lorene laughed, a bright, clear sound that resonated through the mess hall. And with her laughter, the suffocating tension in the room, which had been so palpable just moments before, began to dissipate. Thank the goddess. Suddenly, the mess hall doors swung open, and Tony walked in. Just like that, the tension skyrocketed again, a sharp, immediate surge of unease. Tony had been the Gamma of the Blood Moon Pack, a key position, and had vanished mysteriously during a battle, presumed dead. He had eventually found his way to the Dorge Organization, seeking refuge and a new life. The true reason for his disappearance, we'd learned, was that the position of Gamma had become an unbearable burden, too stressful, too demanding. And if he had simply quit, he would have been branded a failure, treated worse than a rogue. So, he'd gone MIA. The new Gamma, Leo, a formidable warrior, was among the Blood Moon Pack members here with us now. He and Tony had been best friends, a bond forged in countless battles. The air between them, now, was painfully awkward, thick with unresolved history. Tony surveyed the scene, his expression one of annoyed surprise. "Next time you decide to invite my ex-pack, the one I practically ran away from, could you at least give a guy a warning?" He directed the question at us, his eyes flicking from me to Isla. I merely shrugged, offering him a silent apology, while Isla, ever polite, gave him a small, apologetic smile. "Tony?" Leo's voice was a choked whisper, disbelief warring with sudden, raw emotion. Tony turned, his gaze meeting Leo's, then moving to Alpha Harrison and Alpha Jasper. "Nice to see you, Leo," Alpha Harrison, and Alpha Jasper. His tone was flat, carefully neutral. Why did you leave? Leo choked out, the question a desperate plea. Tony ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of exasperation. I couldn't take being Gamma anymore. I never wanted the position, it was thrust upon me. And the last time a Gamma quit instead of dying or retiring, he was treated like a slave. Then, with a sudden, seismic shift in his demeanor, Leo exploded. You could have at least told someone, you asshole, he yelled, his voice raw with pain and anger. I mourned you as dead. I wish you still thought I was, Tony muttered, his voice barely audible, clearly not meant for anyone else to hear. That was all it took. Leo, fueled by a potent cocktail of grief, betrayal, and relief, lunged at Tony. With a subtle motion of my hand, a silent command, I told everyone not to intervene. This was personal. This was Tony's fight, his mess to sort out. I would only step in if there was a real risk of fatal harm. As the two wolves wrestled, their bodies a blur of motion, it became clear they weren't just fighting. They were talking, a fierce, silent conversation unfolding between them. We couldn't hear their words, lost in the flurry of their struggle, so I turned my attention to our bewildered guests. Sorry for the disturbance, I announced, my voice even, as if this were a common occurrence. These two wolves will battle it out between themselves, as long as there's no fatal harm. Now, please follow Oliver as he shows you to the conference room. Food and drinks will be brought to you there. We leave in 2 hours. Oliver, ever reliable, began leading the Blood Moon Pack members out of the mess hall. I remained, keeping a watchful eye on the grappling Tony and Leo. After about 10 minutes, my patience wore thin. I got bored of waiting, the incessant grunts and thuds becoming tedious. With a swift, decisive motion, I yanked them apart. I lectured them both, my voice laced with exasperation. Leo, you shouldn't have reacted like that when Tony revealed he was still alive. Try to see things from his point of view. Tony, you really should have at least told your best friend you were leaving instead of faking your own death. Now, both of you, go to the conference room with everyone else. You're both fighting tonight. They obeyed me, chastened, and left. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. I hated dealing with idiots. I followed them into the conference room, only to find another mess. The people from our organization were huddled on one side, the pack wolves on the other, and Isla and Oliver stuck awkwardly in the middle. Great. Just great. I announced, my voice ringing with authority, in 2 hours, the Dorge Organization will use our resources to drop us off directly in front of the Hunters' headquarters. This is not a takeover, as you know, but a rescue mission. The moment that Georgiana, our mother and Luna, is retrieved, we will retreat. A wolf from the Blood Moon Pack, always eager for a deeper fight, asked, why not destroy them from the root now? I rolled my eyes, a gesture of profound weariness. You've heard stories about the Dorge Organization. The way we take down hunter groups ensures they stay down. If we do it your way, if we simply slaughter them without strategy, there will be new hunters created from the survivors. And they will have even more reason to hunt us. It's an endless cycle. My patience was wearing thin, and Oliver, being my twin, could sense it. He took over seamlessly. Henry and I will lead the pack wolves and our own warriors. During that time, the alphas will focus solely on getting my mother. You can discuss more precise methods with me, but for now, please do whatever is necessary to get ready for a fight. Soon enough, the two previously disparate sides began to interact, tentative at first, then with increasing ease, as they spoke of the oncoming battle. Nothing, it seemed, brought people together more than the shared goal of war. The 2 hours flew by quickly, the preparations complete. We only had to wait for the witches to finish preparing the powerful spell that would transport us directly to the base and, just as importantly, bring us back. Isla, her voice crisp and clear, ordered the group, stay still and do not move. This might be unpleasant. And it was quite unpleasant, a disorienting rush of sensation, a twist in the gut. But then, it was over. We were finally here. We were coming for Mom. She just needed to hold on a little bit longer. Chapter 13. Georgiana's point of view. It feels like just yesterday I was running through that forest, a searing pain blooming in my side. A silver bullet. Damn hunters. I knew I couldn't keep up, not with that kind of injury. My decision was made in a heartbeat: protect my babies. I spun around, facing those monsters, and launched myself at the closest one. My triplets, bless their innocent hearts, hadn't even realized I wasn't right behind them yet. I took down 3 of the hunters before their bullets riddled me, and I just couldn't fight anymore. But the important thing was, they stopped. My pups were free. I felt it, the exact moment my children realized I wasn't with them. Oliver's voice, frantic, exploded in my mind through our link. Hold on, we're coming back. I was fighting a losing battle against the encroaching darkness, but I mustered every last bit of strength to send one more message, a desperate plea: go to your fathers on Blood Moon territory. You can rescue me from there. Please, consider this an order. I need you to do this for me. Isla would make sure they listened. That was my last thought before my eyes fluttered shut, and the world went black from blood loss. Drip. 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 What in the hell is that noise? I tried to open my eyes, but it felt like they were glued shut. Where the hell am I? Then, it all came rushing back: the forest, the hunters, the frantic run, the desperate fight, and the final plunge into unconsciousness. Shit. I forced my eyes open again, making them stay that way this time. It didn't help much, though. Wherever I am, it's dark as sin. I can barely make out anything 2 feet in front of me. I tried to yank my hands, but they were bound, secured against the wall. Double shit. As if that wasn't bad enough, I felt the familiar, sickening burn of silver and wolfsbane. My other bullet wounds, the ones from the forest, seemed to have healed. How long was I out? Finally, I noticed the warm, wet feeling on my face. Blood. Dripping down from my forehead. Triple shit. A sliver of panic started to creep in, but the only thing that kept it from consuming me was the knowledge that my pups were safe. I tried to reach out to my wolf, to mind-link them, but I couldn't. Quadruple shit. Between the pain of our mate's rejection, the silver, and the wolfsbane, my wolf seemed to be in some kind of coma. Not exactly what I needed right now. Too many goddamn shits to count. What a truly wonderful situation I'm in. Mark the sarcasm. My hands and feet are chained to a wall, and that damn dripping noise just won't stop. I swear it's going to drive me completely mad. I felt that familiar wave of panic trying to choke me. Stop it, Georgiana, you need to be strong right now. Okay, what do I do? I assessed my situation: injured, bleeding, can't move, alone, not raped, not beaten, yet. What can I do to make this better? I tried to move my arms, twisting them in a way that might let me wipe the blood from my face. Turns out, I'm a contortionist. Couldn't do anything more. Next, what are my captors up to? I strained, trying to focus on the voices I could hear around me, to pick out just one. No luck. Fuck. In a fit of pure frustration, I struggled against the chains. Stupid idea, I realized, as the added pain sent me back into oblivion. And to think I had just woken up. Splash. I jolted awake, rudely interrupted by a bucket of icy water to my face. I spat out the disgusting water that had gotten into my mouth and opened my eyes. 2 hunters sneered at me. The one with the mustache spoke, a cruel grin on his face. Oh look, the mud is awake. I began struggling against the chains again, imagining how satisfying it would be to slowly choke the life out of him. The one with bushy eyebrows backhanded me. Stop struggling. We need you awake. I ignored him, and he hit me again, reopening some of the bullet wounds on my thighs. It hurt like a bitch. Mustache Hunter took over what I assumed was their interrogation. What did you do to the Mafia to make them want you back so bad? At first, I was confused. What mafia? Then, it hit me. I was in charge of the damn mafia. No wonder they wanted me back. Good job, kids. I knew they'd try something. Bushy eyebrow Hunter punched me in the face when I didn't answer. Answer the question, mutt. What is your involvement with the mafia? I couldn't tell them anything, so I just laughed. The expressions on their faces were pretty gratifying. Mustache Hunter slammed his fist into my stomach, which also hurt like a bitch. He muttered to his partner, "Are you sure we aren't allowed to rape her? Is that what the mafia wanted her for, to break her themselves?" Eyebrow Hunter replied, "The deal with the mafia will likely fall through, and then we'll have our fun. Right now, we have to be patient." I felt sick to my stomach at his words. I knew my pups wouldn't stop trying to find me, and I had to hold on to that hope. Mustache Hunter ordered me, "Tell us what we need to know and no one will get hurt." I tried to answer, but my throat was too parched to form a single word. Instead, I did my best to spit at him. Even if my pups didn't come in time, I knew this branch of hunters was going to die, no matter what. Revenge is a powerful thing. Eyebrow Hunter said, "Well, it seems she isn't cooperating. Maybe the mutt needs a lesson in obedience." Mustache Hunter nodded eagerly and approached me. I stayed still, trying to go limp, hoping any hits wouldn't hurt as much. One punch to the face. Definitely broke my nose, if the blood streaming down my face was any indication. 2 punches to the stomach, making me throw up whatever little was left in my gut. A couple of punches to my ribs, cracking and bruising at least 5, and most likely breaking 1, judging by the sickening crack I heard. A kick to each kneecap, shattering only 1, though. Fuck, that takes forever to heal and it's agonizingly painful. Stepping on my feet. Real mature. But they broke my left foot in the process. Their weight felt like a ton. A jab to my thigh, reopening my partially healed wounds. At this rate, I was going to pass out from blood loss again. Suddenly, my tormentors stopped. I heard them talking. Attack on the base. We should go help, she isn't going anywhere in this state. The mutt will be fine. An attack? My pups must have found another way to get to me. It was then that my wolf began to stir. I could barely make out her whispered word, "Mates." They were here. They came for me. Then, their unique scents flooded the room, and the door swung open. I smiled, a weary, hopeful curve of my lips, and then succumbed to exhaustion, dehydration, blood loss, and starvation. But I knew I was safe. Chapter 14. Isla's point of view. Recap. We only had to wait 2 agonizing hours for the witches to prepare that powerful spell, the one that would send us straight to the hunter base and bring us back again. I ordered the group, my voice firm, "Stay still and do not move." This might be unpleasant. And it was, truly unpleasant, but we were finally coming for Mom. She just needed to hold on a little bit longer. End of recap. I hated traveling by witch's spell. It always made me feel like my stomach had been left behind. I grimaced, looking around at the others. Turns out, most people felt the same way. The witches dropped us off about a 10-minute walk from the base, well inside their borders. If we pushed it, we could make it a 2-minute run. I was supposed to stay in my sniper hideout the entire time, but I doubted that was going to happen. I just couldn't resist a good fight. Everyone stayed silent during the run to the base, careful not to alert the guards to our arrival. Before, the group had been bickering, but now I could see why they were considered the best fighters in both of our groups. No one could even hear us move. I stopped first with Belle, another werewolf, at the sniper hideout to get set up. In a minute, I'd start taking down guards. Belle was my backup, just in case. I watched the group stop right in front of the door, and Oliver gave me the signal to start shooting. I took it, aiming and firing, dropping the first guard I saw. He went down silently, without alerting anyone else. I managed to take down 3 more guards before someone finally noticed. Belle signaled Oliver to charge, letting him know the guards were aware of our presence. They did just that, and I saw our fathers split off from the main group with Stefan, Lorene, and Max to go look for Mom. I hoped they wouldn't take too long. I refocused on my shooting. The only problem was that the real fight was happening inside, so all the remaining guards were in there. I shot 3 more before everyone was inside, and I even managed to get 2 more through the windows. But now, I couldn't shoot anymore, and I was getting bored. I honestly tried to stay put, but then I felt Henry get hit by Silver, and I knew I had to act. I told Belle, "Stay here, I'm going to help." She nodded, taking my place. I jumped down from our perch and ran towards the building. The moment I opened the door, all I could see was blood. The place was practically slick with it. The room was to our advantage because it stopped the hunters from bringing in reinforcements since we had blocked the hallway. I spotted Henry fighting off several hunters at once and sprinted towards him. I shot a hunter in the neck with my gun, and he dropped, choking on his own blood. Henry saw me and nodded, a silent thanks for the help. We went back to back, fighting like we had a million times before. I used all my ammo and turned my gun into a makeshift club. Our goal was to make sure the hunters stayed down, to give the alphas more time to find Mom. At some point, Oliver joined our side. We were in a tight circle, our backs to each other, battling the onslaught of hunters. As triplets, we always fought like this. Some people in the past had told us it was quite a sight to behold. We were the killing machines of the Dorge Organization, part of the reason why, even though the Alpha Kings of the world hated us, they would never dare attack us. The Alpha King and Pack Wolves had to respect this idea of honor. For us, everything was fair in war and survival. We used guns and tricks. People insulted us, saying we had no honor, but to us, it wasn't an insult at all. Back to the battle, Oliver, Henry, and I were surrounded by an increasing number of bodies. I could tell Oliver was injured on his right side because he was favoring his left, something he absolutely despises doing. Henry, on the other hand, had a cut on his left shoulder, and he was a lefty, unfortunately for him. Most of the other werewolves had chosen to shift into their wolf forms. Oliver, Henry, and I had learned how to partially shift. So, in this case, I had claws extending from my hands, which I used to fight. When we were younger, the Dorge Organization had barely started, and we were sitting targets. Mom, Callum, and Sebastian made sure we were taught how to fight in any situation, any way, anyhow. Even though we're only 16, this isn't our first fight, and we've killed before. I remember my first kill like it was yesterday. A rogue had spotted us at a park and decided we were easy targets. I saw him first, and at 10 years old, I snapped his neck after shooting him. I'm injured too. Someone had gotten close enough to cut me on my thigh, and the wound was currently healing before my eyes. Thank God for werewolf healing. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw our fathers emerge from the staircase, carrying Mom, unconscious, in their arms. She did not look good at all. Stefan, Lorene, and Max were trailing behind them. I yelled through the temporary mind link we had put in place for all the fighters, "Retreat." Objective obtained. Success. Everyone listened, dealing with their final opponent before running for the door. I noticed that the alphas and Mom were already gone. Good. Max and Stefan were killing the hunters who pursued us, while Lorene led the way home. I was one of the last ones to make it to the clearing because I had gone back for Belle. When we both arrived, I nodded to Oliver, signaling that everyone was accounted for. Oliver pressed the button the witches had given him, indicating we were ready to go home. I tensed as the witch's spell took hold. My only thought was that we did it, that we had Mom back. Chapter 15. Twin Alpha's Point of View. Their wolves began to sing with joy the moment they entered the building. It was clear Georgiana had come this way. But their wolves' happiness was short-lived when Georgiana's blood became the dominant scent, overpowering everything else. Ryder's wolf was screaming in his head, "Go to mate. Protect mate. Mate in danger." He winced at the deafening noise, knowing Asher was going through the exact same thing. Quickly, they descended the stairs that Callum and Sebastian had pointed out on the map. After that, they simply followed their mate's agonizingly strong scent. They remembered the first time they ever saw her, a vivid memory that now felt like a lifetime ago. Flashback. Writer's point of view. I didn't want to be at this party, and neither did my twin, Asher. The only reason we were here in the first place was to sign the damn treaty. We couldn't leave because it would have been considered rude to abandon the party the Crescent Pack was throwing in our honor. Not like anyone would really notice if we were gone. Everyone was drunk out of their minds. True, but we are too, Asher mind-linked me. As twins, we could read each other's thoughts unless one of us consciously blocked it. Asher and I were only drunk because if we weren't, this would have been unbearable. Of course, we were probably the most sober ones here. I mean, at least we still had some connection to our wolves. I was scanning the crowd for a good lay. Asher and I had practically given up on finding our mate, so we'd been sleeping around a lot. Then, we smelled it, the most delicious scent of cinnamon, cutting through the putrid smell of teenagers. It was like a breath of fresh air. My wolf surged, an excited rumble in my chest, informing me, mate. Go to mate. I paused, not wanting to seem overly eager to the one person my brother and I would be with for the rest of our lives. If we found her, Asher and I had always agreed that we would stop our wandering ways for her. On the dance floor, we saw her. All the women we had been with before paled in comparison. She was commanding the dance floor, completely oblivious to the sheer number of boys who wanted to dance with her. Asher and I couldn't tear our eyes away from her. I was personally staring holes in her skull. All I wanted was for her to look at me, and I knew I would be complete. She then turned towards us, as if she could feel my thoughts. The moment her eyes met ours, her dancing became more seductive, and I was utterly turned on. My intention had been to approach her when she was sober, but now, it was too much to resist. I walked over with Asher, effectively sandwiching her between us as we danced. I had never felt more content than in that moment. I leaned in and spoke to her, my voice rough. If you keep dancing like that, you might get hurt. She didn't listen, just kept moving. The dancing evolved into grinding, and I felt my wolf take control, as did Ryder's. Ryder's voice, husky, cut through the music. We need to get somewhere more private fast, don't you think? She nodded her approval, and our wolves didn't need any more encouragement as we swept her away. We barely made it to the room before I started kissing her, my lips devouring hers, while Ryder trailed kisses down her collarbone. It was pure bliss. Flashback over. Asher's point of view. The memory of her scent was overwhelming, as was the memory of the only night we had spent together. I was so mad the next morning to discover that I was back at the guest house where we were staying, and she was gone. According to Vivian, it had been quite a scene to behold. Flashback. I was sleeping off my hangover, basking in the contentment of finally finding our mate. I couldn't wait to wake up next to her every single day. Then, I heard sobbing. That woke me up more quickly than a bucket of ice-cold water ever could. Why would my mate be crying? The moment I opened my eyes, I knew something was wrong. I was in my bed with Ryder, but no mate. I shook Ryder awake, trying desperately to keep my wolf from taking over again. Once he was awake, I asked, "Why is our mate gone? How are we home again?" That sent Ryder bolting out of the room to look for our mate. I quickly followed him. Ryder had more of a temper than I did. I caught up to him in the living room, where Edward and his new mate, Vivian, were. Vivian had been the one I heard sobbing. She was mumbling, distressed. How could she have left? Her note said that her mates rejected her, and they belonged to your pack, Edward. I still can't believe she left. It's already 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and she cut ties with the pack at 10. She's so far away. Georgiana promised to come back one day, and she better keep that promise. It was then we both stormed in and yelled at Edward, "Why the hell are we here?" Edward looked at us, confused. "You always tell me to get you away from your easy lays before the women wake up, so they won't become clingy. I got you here the moment you fell asleep, like usual." With those words, Ryder's temper snapped. Before I could even blink, Ryder had Edward pinned against the wall by his throat. I quickly joined his side, glaring at Edward. Ryder yelled again, his voice raw with fury, "That was our mate. We don't even know where she is now." Edward's face became apologetic, and he choked out, I am sorry. I didn't know." It was then I noticed that his mate, Vivian, I think her name was hitting my brother and me, yelling, "Release Edward. You are hurting him. Listen to me, you stupid alphas." The last insult finally got our attention, and Ryder released Edward, who slid down to the floor. We approached Vivian like she was our prey. "What did you say, little girl?" I growled, my voice threatening. Now that her mate wasn't in danger, the girl lost some of her courage and began backing away from us. I heard Edward try to say, "Vivian, no. They are going to hurt you." At the sound of his voice, she rushed to his side. "Are you okay, Edward?" I was getting more and more annoyed at being ignored. "What about our mate?" Then, Vivian looked like a light bulb went off inside her brain. She asked Edward, what did the girl look like? "Long black hair, petite figure," Edward described, adding more details. Vivian's face drained of all color as Edward described our beautiful mate. I managed to regain a semblance of control as Vivian seemed to have an idea. At the end of Edward's description, she muttered, "Oh shit." I questioned her, my voice sharp, "What do you know?" She turned to face me. "I know who your mate is. It's Georgiana, my best friend." Edward's face mirrored his mate's, turning a deathly pale. "Not the same one as earlier?" Vivian nodded. "I am sorry to tell you this, but Georgiana has cut all her ties with the pack at 10 o'clock this morning. She left her parents and me a note saying that she couldn't stand being near her mates after they rejected her. Georgiana thought you guys rejected her, and she's gone. You won't find her because of her head start. I am really sorry." Rage consumed my entire being, and my wolf took over. I came to about 24 hours later, with no memory of what had happened. Flashback over. Ryder's point of view. We continued down the stairs and found ourselves facing a line of cells. I followed my nose, but then the sense suddenly cut off. I freaked out a little and allowed my wolf to take control. He had better senses than me to find our mate, and he needed her. I was right, because 5 seconds later, he was ripping the door of one of the cells off its hinges. Inside was Georgiana, our mate. Asher and I rushed in and saw her smile right before she finally passed out. Ignoring the burning pain of the silver, I broke her chains and lifted her into my arms. I ran up the stairs with her cradled against me, making sure that Oliver, Henry, and Isla, who were fighting together, saw that we had succeeded. I heard the voice through the mind link, "Retreat. Objective obtained. Success." I didn't pay any more attention as I ran towards the clearing where the witches would transport us. Soon enough, everyone was there, and I saw Oliver hit the button to alert the witches that we were ready for transportation. I felt the gut-wrenching sensation of the spell, and we appeared back at the organization. Everyone headed to the hospital area, with me leading the way, Georgiana clutched safely in my arms. I had our mate once again. Chapter 16. Oliver's point of view. The instant the witch's spell brought us back to the organization, we practically flew to the hospital area. Everyone cleared out of our way, their expressions shifting to concern when they saw Mom's condition. Ryder was carrying her, following us diligently to the room where she'd be treated. We'd arranged for a female doctor only for her, knowing full well our fathers wouldn't appreciate a male one tending to their mate. Ryder and Asher were looking anywhere but at our mother. I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that their wolves would take over completely if they truly saw the state she was in. I pushed open the door to a private room where Doc Jamie was already waiting. Without a single word, she simply motioned for Mom to be placed on the examination table. Then, she spoke, her voice firm, "I need you all to leave the room while I examine Georgiana and operate on her immediately." Ryder and Asher let out low growls, but Isla, ever the voice of reason, stepped in. "Okay, tell us when she wakes up, and when you go into surgery, if that's necessary. Either way, we need to discuss the aftermath of the fight. If you need us, mind link us, or we'll be in the conference room 2 hallways down." With that, she grabbed our fathers and, with surprising strength, dragged them out, leaving Henry and me to follow. I did so, chuckling quietly at our sister's sheer force of spirit. She was going to be an amazing leader for the Dorge Organization. It takes so much more than just being an alpha, especially when you have to deal with the Alpha Kings and all that comes with them. I certainly don't have the patience for it. We stopped in front of the conference room door and entered. Ryder and Asher practically collapsed onto the couches. Leo, their Pax Gamma, was already there, as were Max, Stefan, and Lorene, all the people who needed to report back to us. Callum and Sebastian were also present, engrossed in their computers. I took charge, my voice clear. "Report." Leo started. "None of the wolves from our pack are fatally injured. 5 of them needed emergency surgery, and the rest only require some stitches." Stefan reported next. "Same on our side. No one who participated is fatally injured, but the witches who performed the spell are having some serious issues. 1 is in a medical coma." Lorene added, "We have 3 in surgery right now, and Belle wanted me to tell you, Isla, that she left the gear at the usual place." Isla nodded, satisfied. "Good." Max chimed in, "We've started the process of infiltrating the Hunter operation. Addison is in place, as is Antonio. They report that the Hunters don't know who carried out the attack and don't even suspect us or the Blood Moon Pack. The suspicion is squarely on the Alpha King, apparently because they recently managed to tick him off. More reports are on the way." I stood up from where I was sitting. "This is good news. What's the timeline for the complete disbandment of the Hunter operation?" Max answered confidently, "I think Addison and Antonio can get it done in 6 months if we bring in Margot and her sob story." Henry nodded. "Then plan that." I asked, "Does anyone have any concerns or pressing issues that need our immediate attention?" Callum stood up and walked over to me. "How is Georgiana?" I smiled reassuringly. "She's with Jamie right now. Doc Jamie will tell us when she's done, and not a second before." Sebastian chuckled. "Jamie hasn't changed a bit." Leo then asked, "When do we head back to our pack?" "We can't leave them long without their alphas and their gamma." Ryder replied, "Asher and I need to stay here with our mate for a while. You can head back tonight, and we'll send the injured to follow as soon as they heal. I'm sure we can borrow some form of transportation from them, yes?" I told him, "We have a couple of helicopters and a few trucks you can use." With that settled, Leo left the room to follow his alpha's instructions. Max then pulled me aside. I smelled my mate on one of the pack members. "Can I have permission to return with Leo to search for her?" I nodded. "Of course you can. Tell us if you find her or him, and if you're going to be staying with us or moving to the pack." Max smiled broadly and sauntered off to catch up with Leo. Stefan and Lorene also left the room, leaving just Callum, Sebastian, Henry, Isla, Ryder, Asher, and me. Sebastian turned to us, his expression serious. "How do you think Georgiana will react to the deal you guys made?" I shrugged. "She'll most likely be annoyed. But I know Mom, she'll keep the deal. Mom already knew that Isla wanted to inherit the organization, and she won't mind that Henry and I will become the alphas of the Blood Moon Pack, if that's what we want." Callum commented pointedly, "Georgiana is going to be furious that you made decisions about her mates without her." Ryder added, his voice dry, "We are in the room too, you know." Callum shrugged, clearly not caring. Kind of hard to forget. At that very moment, Henry, Isla, and I received a mind link from Doc Jamie. "Georgiana needs surgery, and she's about to go in. I'm sending one of my nurses, Jessica, to brief you on her injuries." I repeated the message to those she hadn't contacted. "Mom is going into surgery, and a nurse is coming to talk to us about her injuries." Ryder and Asher stood up as Jessica entered the room. Now, everyone was standing except Sebastian, who remained at his computer. Jessica began, her voice professional. "Georgiana has a shattered kneecap, a broken foot, 2 broken fingers, 2 cracked ribs, 1 fractured rib, 2 broken ones, and a concussion. I questioned her, confused. None of those usually require emergency surgery. Jessica explained, usually they don't, but one of her ribs pierced a lung, allowing blood to enter. It was rather urgent to fix that before she choked on her own blood. Only then did she seem to notice the effect her words were having on Georgiana's mates. Asher and Ryder were shaking with barely contained anger, attempting to control their wolves, who clearly wanted to defend their injured mate. The moment Jessica noticed, she hightailed it out of there. A lot of our doctors and nurses have had to deal with people whose mates have been injured, and they absolutely hate it. Isla made soothing noises to our fathers, knowing that as their daughter, she should have some calming effect. It worked, though the alphas remained tense. 3 stressful hours later, Jamie mind-linked us again. Surgery is done successfully, and you can come see Georgiana, even though she's unconscious. We've put her in room 319. No sooner had I repeated her words than everyone was heading for the door to go see her. I was just happy that Mom was doing better and would be okay. Chapter 17. Georgiana's point of view. When is she going to wake up? It's been 10 hours. Are you sure? What were all these voices and noises? Where was I? I tried to open my eyes, but snapped them shut immediately due to the blinding light. I was quick and discreet, making sure no one noticed. I hated being fussed over. I lay still, trying to remember why on earth I was here. Then, it all came back, the hunters, the rescue, passing out again. But whose voices were these? They weren't Isla, Henry, Oliver, Callum, or Sebastian. I would recognize them anywhere. My wolf chose that precise moment to make an appearance. Mates. Shit. That's whose voices I heard. This made everything incredibly awkward. I never thought I'd see them again after they rejected me. I heard Oliver speak, his voice gruff, "Shut the hell up. Mom will wake up when she wants to." Hearing his voice made me smile. I wondered how his meeting with his fathers had gone. He was the one who never wanted to see them. The thought of finally seeing my pups again forced me to open my eyes. It hurt like hell because of the bright lights. Henry noticed first. "You idiots. Mom is awake. And turn off the damn lights. Get her some water while you're at it too." I heard a scurry of movement to my left, and then the lights clicked off, bringing sweet relief. Henry handed me a glass of water, which I gratefully took a sip from. My throat felt so incredibly dry. After finishing the glass, I managed to say, "Thank you." During this time, I was doing my absolute best to ignore the presence of 2 particular individuals to my left, focusing only on my pups and best friends. Isla asked gently, "How are you feeling, Mama?" "Just dandy," I replied, a hint of sarcasm in my voice, which caused a ripple of chuckles in the room. "Sure you are," Sebastian joked, his voice warm. I questioned them. What were my injuries? What did I miss? How did you get to me? How long was I out for? Callum answered first. "You had a shattered kneecap, a broken foot, 2 broken fingers, 2 cracked ribs, 1 fractured rib, 2 broken ones, and a concussion. Not to mention your punctured lung, which required surgery." "Fun stuff," I commented dryly. "How long was I unconscious?" "Oliver told me, when we found you, you were out, and you'd been out for about 15 hours, give or take." Hot damn, that was a nice nap. I always resort to sarcasm when there's tension in the room. The current tension, of course, was the undeniable fact that my mates were standing right behind me, and I was pointedly ignoring them. Henry added, "Now, I assume you want to know what we've been up to while you were gone." "Of course," I replied. Henry began the story. "Well, we made it to the pack territory. Everything was fine until some of the wolves tried to detain us, claiming it was the rule for their territory, ignoring the law of the Alpha King. Turns out, your old pack had moved, and that's exactly where we ended up. We found your parents' house and hid there. They agreed to get us to the Alphas to talk to them during a pack meeting. Isla picked up the story seamlessly, without missing a beat. During that meeting, some people brought up the subject of a new Luna to replace you because you'd been missing for so long. I kind of got up and told the whole room off, saying they didn't deserve you. In the meantime, I'd knocked off my hood, which made the alphas think I was you. Oliver continued smoothly. They were also completely confused about how there was another set of twins looking exactly like them. Isla also ordered everyone to leave the room and then told your mates that you were in a relationship with Callum and Sebastian. I looked at my daughter, my eyebrows raised. Really? She blushed, but took back up the story. Not my finest moment. I also managed to tell them that you were my mother and were in danger. They completely lost control of their wolves, and we had to run. Luckily, our grandma had told us a story about Vivian, the beta female and your friend. We tracked her scent. Henry chose to continue the storytelling. Vivian thought Isla was you, but Isla quickly set her straight and told her we were your kids. She protected us, even though her mate didn't want her to. Edward, the beta, managed to get us all to have a decent conversation. They explained some things, which they'll tell you later. We had a few issues, but eventually settled them. Callum and Sebastian came over. Our fathers gave us warriors, and we came for you. That's the basic rundown. I looked at my pups, a mix of exasperation and pride in my voice. You know, when I told you to run, I meant safety, not back to me. My pups just gave me a collective hug, and then an amiable silence settled in the room. Then, as if on an unseen command, everyone but my mates got up and left. With a sigh, I realized that I was finally going to have to talk to the men who had rejected me. I asked them, my voice soft, "You told them to leave, didn't you?" It was Ryder who answered me. "We just wanted to talk to you." He reached forward as if to touch me, and I flinched back instinctively. He retracted his hand immediately, his expression showing his hurt. I told him, my voice firm. "You rejected me, so you have no business being in my life." Asher retorted, his voice raspy, "We have so much explaining to do, so please, just listen before you reject us completely." He looked so forlorn, so utterly dejected. It was the sight of him begging that made me say, "Fine." With a visible sigh of relief, Ryder began. At 20 years old, Asher and I thought we were never going to find our mate. It had been 4 long years. I'm ashamed to admit that we started sleeping around. Of course, the women we slept with often thought it was more than just an easy lay, that we were going to make them our Luna. So, we had a standing arrangement with our beta, Edward, to get us out of the room before the woman woke up. Asher picked up the story. That's exactly what happened after the night we spent together. Both of us only woke up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 hours after you had officially cut your ties with the pack. When we discovered what happened, we nearly killed Edward, and our wolves took complete control for 24 hours, leaving us with no memory of what happened. What we mean to say is that we never rejected you. Ryder continued, his voice earnest. Only a crazy man would ever want to reject you. We never wanted you to go through such pain, to raise our children alone. But we are also incredibly proud of the woman you have become, the woman who commands such respect, Asher added, his gaze intense. Ryder took my hand in his touch gentle. What we want to ask you is if you could find it in your heart to forgive us for all that has happened and to give us one final chance. I was speechless. This was not at all how I thought this conversation was going to go. I felt my wolf, L, stirring within me, telling me, forgive them. Go to mates. I was torn. My heart was screaming at me to say yes, but my brain, ever cautious, didn't want to open myself up to such potential heartbreak again. In the end, my heart won. I told them, my voice soft but firm, yes, but only one chance. You mess up, and poof, I'm gone. When I answered yes, Asher and Ryder both hugged me, their lips brushing my cheek, suspiciously close to my mouth. I was happy they didn't kiss me yet, I still needed more time. But right now, I was simply content to be with my mates. Chapter 18. Henry's point of view. I was just waiting for the alphas to finally leave Mom's hospital room so I could go back in. I knew Isla and Oliver didn't want to mention the deal we'd made, but I had to tell Mom. She'd find out eventually, and she'd be furious if no one had told her. Mom could feel my presence right outside the door, and true to form, she'd send the alphas out so I could come in. She was always that considerate. Doc Jamie told us that Georgiana would be out of the hospital and free to do things, with casts, of course, in about a week. So, the deal officially kicked off in a week. Mom spent a full hour with our fathers before finally sending them off to eat, clean up, and get some rest, in that exact order. I could hear her shouting those instructions behind them as they left. The moment they were gone, I slipped in and gave Mom a tight hug. I had been so incredibly scared I was going to lose her too. Mom looked at me, a knowing glint in her eyes. "Now, Henry, what is it you need to talk to me about that you waited an hour for?" I answered, a little nervously, "So, you know who the alphas agreed to help?" "Yes, you guys told me what happened," she replied, her gaze steady. I ran my hand through my hair, a nervous habit. "Well, we left out some details." Mom's eyes narrowed, a clear warning in her glare. "What do you mean, left out some details?" I shrugged, trying to appear nonchalant. "Oliver and Isla didn't want you to know because they thought you'd get mad." She raised her eyebrows, a silent promise of trouble for them. "They are so in trouble for not telling me." "Now, explain." I finally sat down in my chair, getting comfortable. "You know how everything basically went down. Except, to get them to agree to help, because Isla had them so riled up, a deal was made." Mom interrupted, her voice sharp. "What did Isla say to rile them up? What was the deal?" I continued, carefully choosing my words. "Isla told them that we would hide you away from them completely. So, to ensure they got at least a chance with you again, they made a deal. The deal was that once you're healed, you will be accessible to them for a week. If, after that week, you want to leave, I will personally help you. Also, Oliver and I would become their heirs to become alphas of the Blood Moon Pack." Mom got a thoughtful look on her face. "I understand both sides of that deal. It's good for you and Oliver to have a true wolf pack. As their eldest children, your wolves are more attracted to that kind of thing. And since Isla is your fraternal triplet, it makes sense that she wouldn't be the alpha." I nodded. "Yeah, she'll only be in charge of one of the biggest human mafias in the world and the biggest rogue supernatural establishment." Mom laughed, a genuine, joyful sound. "Isla is something else. I truly wonder who the moon goddess put as her mate, probably someone incredibly powerful. But, if they think Isla will submit to them, they've got another thing coming. Watch her mate be the Alpha King," I joked, a playful smirk on my face. Mom added, "Don't jinx it. It would be interesting to see Isla and the Alpha King go head to head. I wonder who would win that fight." I playfully hit her shoulder. "Mom, don't wish that fate on the poor Alpha King. He won't even know what hit him." With a mischievous glint in her eye, Mom questioned me, "What else happened while I was away?" "I need the gossip." I sighed overdramatically. "You are worse than high school girls." With Mom, it's the only place I can actually act this way, except with my siblings. In public, I'm always watching and waiting, while Oliver and Isla appear to be completely carefree. Mom shot back, a knowing smile playing on her lips. I know. But I still want to know." I told her, Tony, the ex-Gamma of the Blood Moon Pack, ran into Leo, the current Gamma and his best friend. She winced. "Tony is the one who faked his death to leave the pack, right? How did that go over?" I replied, "They got into a fight. I let them fight for a bit, then separated them and told them to get their shit together. They're fine now. And Lorene teased Stefan when he called wolves mutts." Mom laughed. "I can imagine how that went over." I smiled. "Yeah, we all could tell it was teasing, but poor Stefan didn't." On a sad note, Moira, one of our witches, is still in a medical coma because of the transportation spell we used. It drained her the most for some reason. She frowned, concern clouding her features. I have to go visit her family and reassure them. Is she going to be alright? I took her hand in mine, squeezing gently. Don't worry so much, Doc Jamie says that Moira will be okay in a week or two. I saw Mom relax, a subtle sigh escaping her lips. Good. I'm still going to see her family. Isn't her mate also a warlock or wizard? Alex, right? I nodded. I have no idea how you remember so many details. We continued talking and joking. Soon enough, our fathers came back to see Mom. They looked much better and well rested now. It was time for me to be the protective son for Mom. I stood up and said, Ryder, Asher, can I talk to you two for a minute in the room next door? They nodded and followed me out. Once we were all in the room, I shut the door and leaned against it, effectively blocking any means of escape. Usually, I try to be unnoticed, but I can be very intimidating when I want to be. I told them, my voice low and serious, Mom told me that she is giving you two one last chance. Ryder, ever so confident, simply said, yes. I got right up in their space, my voice a low growl. If you hurt her, I will end you. I have the backing of a mafia. I will kill and torture anyone you hold dear as you sit there watching. If you think I am joking, understand this, no one matters more to me than my mom. I swear that if you hurt her, I will find her a new mate and make her disappear, while your pack slowly self-destructs right in front of your eyes. And I will make sure that you two can no longer have children. I stepped back, allowing the weight of my words to settle. I wish you the best of luck with Mom, but don't mess up. With that, I turned and left the room. Behind me, I heard them talking, their voices a little stunned. Our son is a bit crazy. I appreciate how protective he is, though. I would never hurt Georgiana. And I really don't feel like being emasculated. I smirked. That went over better than I thought it would. Chapter 19. Alpha's point of view. 1 week later. Georgiana finally got permission to leave the hospital yesterday. She was still on crutches, but she was allowed to be out. We had spent the last week getting to know each other better, slowly but surely fixing our broken relationship. Right now, however, was our first official date. Ryder's point of view. I was incredibly excited for our date. And also, to be completely honest, freaking out a little. I desperately wanted Georgiana to stay with us, but it had been 16 years since we had really interacted with women like this. After Georgiana, Asher and I swore off of them until we found her again. Everyone in our pack was shocked at that development because Asher and I had been notorious playboys. We never explained why, but eventually, people figured it out. I mean, we had no one but ourselves. Mom was dead, and Dad was gone too. Our uncle was a complete prick, but now he was dead. When I thought about it, most of our blood family were dead. It didn't really affect us, except for our parents' deaths. I knew Asher was just as nervous as I was for our date. I mean, what if we screwed up? What if Georgiana didn't want us after all? My wolf, ever the confident one, made an appearance at those words. Mate will always want us. He sounded so sure, a confidence that, for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel. We had picked the perfect venue for the date. Georgiana loved the forest and was always more comfortable in a less fancy location. Asher and I had set everything up ourselves earlier today. Isla had assured us it was absolutely perfect for her mom. She had been incredibly helpful with all of it. Right now, Asher and I were standing in front of Georgiana's door, knocking gently. I heard a faint, "Come in." I pushed the door open and saw Georgiana, fully dressed and ready, but sitting by the window. She was looking at us, a hint of shyness in her eyes. I asked her, my voice soft, "Are you ready to go, love?" She blushed, a delicate flush spreading across her cheeks. Yes, but I left my crutches on the other side of the room. Instead of going to get them for her, I simply scooped her into my arms. Asher had already gone to the car to get it started. I felt lucky, I got to sit with my Georgiana in the back of the car. Georgiana, still blushing, told me, "I can walk, you know." I smirked, leaning closer. But I love carrying you, love. All three of us were a lot more comfortable with each other after a week of getting to know each other again. I walked out of the building Georgiana lived in. She had moved back to her regular room there. I gently set her down and buckled her into the car while she was blushing a furious shade of red. I wondered what she was thinking to make her blush like that. During the ride, Georgiana asked, "So, where are we going?" "It's a surprise," I told her, my eyes twinkling. She pouted, a soft, adorable expression. "Not even a hint?" I smiled. "Here's a hint, it's a date." Georgiana pouted even more. Damn, I couldn't handle her doing that. I was going to give the game away. I was about to give in when Asher shot me a look. I could read it perfectly. It meant he would be pissed if I told her. To distract both me and her, I picked her up and gently placed her on my lap. Once again, Georgiana blushed, a deeper shade this time. I felt like I was behaving like the 20-year-old I was when I first met her, rather than the 36-year-old man I actually was. Georgiana looked up at me, a teasing smile playing on her lips. "Your distraction didn't work." I groaned playfully. "Really, it didn't?" She just smiled. "Nope. Asher saved me, announcing, 'We are here.'" I placed a blindfold over Georgiana's eyes despite her protests. "I mean, do I really need a blindfold, Ryder?" Asher answered, his voice amused, "It's more of a surprise this way." He swooped in and picked her up. She let out a surprised squeak, but quickly settled into his arms. I loved the feeling of all three of us being together, something I hadn't truly experienced since we last met 16 years ago. We quickly reached our chosen location, and Asher gently put Georgiana down. I stepped behind her, closer than necessary, to remove the blindfold. The moment she saw what we had done, Georgiana gasped, her voice filled with awe. "It's beautiful." Asher and I both smiled, a deep satisfaction filling us. This was definitely the reaction we had wanted. I knew then that this had been a good idea. She turned around and kissed both of us, a soft brush of her lips on mine, then on Asher's. That was something else I could definitely get used to. Georgiana had only started doing that a day or two ago. It was easy for her to trust us again, because every fiber of her being was telling her to. I picked Georgiana back up to settle her comfortably on the blanket we'd laid out. She was expecting it this time. Asher began taking out the food we had packed into a basket. I started a conversation, my voice hopeful. "So, do you like it?" "I love it so much, Ryder." "It was really thoughtful," she gushed, her eyes sparkling. Meanwhile, Asher handed her a plate piled high with her favorite foods. I had no idea what they were, but they looked delicious. She took a bite, and a soft moan escaped her lips. Both Asher and I groaned simultaneously. This was going to be a very long night if she kept that up. Asher's point of view. As I stared at Georgiana, truly seeing her, I wondered how we had gotten so incredibly lucky to have her as our mate. Georgiana was so strong and so beautiful, raising our pups all by herself and making a formidable name for herself with the Dorge Organization. She was so damn perfect in every single way. It broke my heart to know what she had gone through, so needlessly. The rest of the night was a perfect dream, for her and for us. I never thought that I would experience this again, this profound feeling of contentment, this feeling of being utterly complete. I was jolted from my thoughts by Georgiana asking, her voice curious, "Why are you staring at me?" Why wouldn't I stare at the most beautiful and precious thing in the world? I answered, my voice husky with emotion. Georgiana blushed a deep crimson, and I was forced to adjust myself, a delicious discomfort spreading through me. This night was beautiful, and I desperately hoped there would be many, many more like it in our future, because I couldn't bear to be separated from her a second time. Chapter 20. Isla's point of view. I was waiting in Mom's room for her to come home from her date. Since her friends weren't here, it was my job to have the girl talk after the date and make sure they didn't make me another sibling just yet. I heard the car arrive and Mom get out. Within moments, the door to the house swung open, and Mom was gently set down on the couch. It was totally not creepy that I was watching them from the second floor. I heard Mom laughing, and I smiled. She deserved to be happy. Asher and Ryder both kissed her, and things started to get heated. That's when I chose to make my grand appearance. I descended the stairs, my voice deliberately loud. "What's going on in here?" Mom immediately pushed her mates off, blushing a deep, mortified red. My fathers just grinned unrepentantly, looking entirely too pleased with themselves. I couldn't help but smile too. I asked again, my tone firm but playful, "Well, Dads, thank you for dropping Mom off, but I'm going to be the responsible person in the room and kick you out." Our fathers grinned even wider when I said, "Dads," and swooped down to give Mom one last, lingering kiss before finally leaving. Ryder yelled back, "See you tomorrow, love." Asher, ever the charming one, added, "Or maybe tonight, princess." When they were gone, I sat down next to Mom and brought her crutches closer. She still had that dreamy smile on her face, a clear sign of how well the date had gone. I asked her, my voice teasing, "How was the date?" She gushed, her eyes sparkling. "It was wonderful. They brought me to a little picnic area in the forest, and we talked for hours. I loved it so much. They really made such an effort for this." I teased Mom playfully, "Are you in love?" She froze, and I knew that was a tough subject for her. But I hadn't meant to pry about that. I'd never been able to have these kinds of talks with Mom because, without her mates, she hadn't even bothered looking for anyone else. Then, she unfroze and smiled, a genuine, radiant smile. "Yes, it appears that I am falling in love. I mean, my wolf was literally yelling at me to jump their bones." I clapped my hands over my ears dramatically. I did not need to hear that. My innocent ears. Mom laughed, a full, joyful sound. "It's not my fault that your fathers only got better with age." I started humming loudly, trying to drown her out. "I'm not hearing this. I'm not hearing this." Hearing Mom's return, Lorene, Stefan's mate and a powerful werewolf, sauntered in, asking, "So, how did it go?" Mom immediately launched back into gushing about the date. I chose that moment to simply watch her. Mom was physically so much better, she was gaining weight again, the shadows under her eyes were gone. She was truly better. Before this, Mom had been constantly losing weight, hardly eating or sleeping. Sometimes, I was genuinely scared that she was going to kill herself. I mean, when we were younger, we kept her so busy that she didn't feel the effects of the mate bond as much. Now, her eyes were sparking with life, she was smiling and laughing easily. I still held some resentment for the alphas not having looked hard enough, but I had to admit they were good for her. I started listening back into the conversation when Mom said, they even offered to bring me to visit their pack. I could see Vivian and her kids. I jumped into their talk. That could be cool. I haven't met her kids yet. Lorene added, a warning in her voice, watch out around her eldest girl, Oriel. I frowned, confused. Why? She looked at me, surprised. I forgot, you were only 5 when it happened. So, Oriel got kidnapped when she was 5. I'm pretty sure she was conceived the same night you were. Back on topic. I chided, wanting to steer the conversation away from that dark memory. Right, she continued. Oriel was kidnapped by that really nasty group of rogues, the first one we broke up. It was absolutely awful. She had been raped and hurt in every way possible. Her mother, Vivian, was so incredibly grateful when we returned her to them. Don't you remember, Georgiana, the week after is when the twins threw the biggest fit? Mom nodded, a sad expression on her face. I remember. I treated the girl myself. One of my worst patients, ever. I was able to heal her physical wounds, but her mental ones. I don't know if they ever will truly heal. I shuddered. On to happier topics. Have you called Vivian yet? Mom shook her head. I don't have her number. I told her, a small smile forming. Ask Asher or Ryder. They would do anything for you. Mom smiled, a genuinely happy curve of her lips. Yeah, they were really sweet tonight. Lorene questioned, her voice gentle. Are you okay, Georgiana? Mom smiled again, that radiant, genuine smile. I really am. For the first time in a very long time, I truly am okay. Lorene gave Mom a warm hug. I'm glad. At that moment, Stefan walked in, his eyes immediately finding Lorene. I was looking for you, mate. Lorene smiled at him. I had to go see Georgiana. She just came back from her date. Stefan shook his head, a determined look on his face. I needed to see those boys. I'm going to scare the hell out of them if they hurt you. I laughed, a knowing chuckle. I'm pretty sure Henry already did that. I overheard him threatening them with emasculation, murder, and the complete destruction of their pack. Stefan looked immensely proud. Couldn't have said it better myself. Those boys now have the fear of God in them. Lorene joked, a twinkle in her eye. Why did you call them boys, honey? Stefan smiled, showing off his fangs, a predatory gleam in his eyes. They are boys. Only 36. I am over 600 years old. They are boys to me. Lorene smirked. So, I'm only a girl, then. Why am I with you, old man? Stefan's smile deepened. I can show you exactly why, right now. I quickly jumped onto the couch, covering my ears. My innocent virgin ears. Stefan and Lorene both burst into laughter. Stefan picked her up, throwing her over his shoulder in a playful gesture. He called back to me, for you, Isla, I will have my way with her in a different room. I could hear their laughing all the way down the hallway. Lorene loved antagonizing Stefan. Their relationship had started out a bit rocky when they first met. Lorene had been forced to go rogue by her pack because she didn't want to sleep with their alpha. He made her a rogue. When she met Stefan, he was a stuffy vampire who had just joined the Dorge Organization. Stefan himself had been forced out of his own group for refusing to mate with someone other than his true mate, even after 600 years. I was happy that they had managed to work out their differences and find happiness together. I turned to Mom and saw she was finally sleeping, a peaceful expression on her face. I mind-linked Oliver and Henry. Come bring Mom to bed. We're in the living room. They arrived a couple of minutes later and picked Mom up with ease. We dropped her off in her room and then headed up to our own. Oliver and Henry still slept in the same bed, while I slept in a different bed but in the same room. We had trouble sleeping without each other nearby. Mom knew that we would eventually get over it once we met our own mates or were forced to separate for other reasons. Henry said to the silent, dark room, his voice soft, our fathers better treat Mom like a queen. Oliver nodded, his voice equally quiet. We will make sure of that. I added, a smirk playing on my lips even in the darkness, don't worry. If they make her cry, I will sick Stefan on them. He loves werewolf blood. After that, we all drifted off to sleep, the quiet assurance of our bond filling the room. Chapter 21. Georgiana's point of view. It had been a full day since our truly wonderful date, and now we had decided to go visit their pack, or rather, our pack. I was so incredibly excited to finally see Vivian. I wanted it to be a complete surprise, so I hadn't called Vivian yet, resisting the urge with every fiber of my being. Isla, Oliver, and Henry had packed enough clothes and essentials for me to last a week there, before I would have to come back and make my decision about my mates. Of course, my pups were coming with me. Just the four of us, and even then, we would still be able to break free of the Blood Moon pack if we needed to. Once I thought I was rejected, I became fiercely determined never to be put in a situation where I was helpless again. I had passed that lesson on to my pups, who had trained relentlessly. Now, we were virtually unbeatable. Hurry up, Mom. Oliver's voice rang out, impatient as ever. I chuckled, that was my Oliver, always in a rush. I did hurry down, and I saw that my pups were all piled into one car, while my mates were in the other. That certainly promised an interesting car ride. I quickly got in and closed the door behind me. The engine roared to life. Ryder was driving, while Asher was with me in the back. The first few minutes passed without incident, but soon enough, Asher's hand found its way to my thigh. I tried to subtly brush it off, but he kept it there, firm and persistent. Not that I truly minded, though Ryder might get distracted. His hand inched higher and higher. If I didn't stop him, I would definitely end up jumping his bones right then and there. Would that be a bad thing, though? My wolf, purred in my mind. I scolded her, though a smile touched my lips. Bad, horny wolf. I turned back to Asher and, in a fit of sudden inspiration, leaned in and kissed him. He responded immediately, his lips molding to mine, deepening the kiss with an intensity that stole my breath. It was getting hotter, the air thick with unspoken desire, when Ryder's voice, surprisingly calm, cut through the moment. Unless you want me to pull over the car and take this all the way, I suggest you both stop. We broke apart, my face a bright, undeniable red. The rest of the car ride was silent, but it was a comfortable silence, filled with a new, simmering awareness. It took us a while to get there, and eventually, I drifted off to sleep. Wake up, love, Asher's voice murmured gently. I woke up quickly, bolting to my feet, a bad habit I had picked up as a rogue. Unfortunately, I hit whoever was nearest to me, which, regrettably, turned out to be Asher. Damn it, Mom, I told them they should be careful waking you up. Oliver's voice was filled with a mixture of exasperation and amusement. I blushed again. I seemed to be blushing a lot these last few days. Asher gently massaged his jaw, a small smile on his face. At least I know you can defend yourself. I smiled sheepishly. Being a rogue for 16 years builds up some habits. Asher took one of my hands, and Ryder took the other. Together, we entered their pack house. There was no one inside but their beta and his family. I could smell their scents faintly. I was glad for the quiet. It was strange being here with my mates. I had gone without them for so long. I heard Vivian walk into the kitchen, her voice light, without looking up. Oh, Alphas, you're home. Edward said you would be. How is Georgiana? When will you be heading back to see her? I smiled, my voice carrying clearly. Look up, and they could tell you right now. At the sound of my voice, she looked up, her eyes widening in disbelief. Georgiana? I nodded my head, and she barreled into me, enveloping me in a fierce hug. I cannot believe you are actually here. Then, she pulled back, her expression shifting to one of playful accusation. You could have called. Sent a text, an email, a goddamn letter. Even your parents got postcards, and they were assholes to you. I looked sheepishly at the ground. I know. I didn't want to give you something to track, out of paranoia, or make you a target because of my work. I felt really guilty about Oriel. Vivian looked at me, confused. How could it ever be your fault? Oriel was taken because she had wandered too far out and smelled like she had powerful blood. It was our fault, if anything. I gave her another hug. That group of rogues were the first we stopped. I found Oriel and doctored her wounds before returning her to the border of your territory. Vivian smiled again, a grateful warmth in her eyes. Then thank you for saving my little girl. Now, what have you been up to for the last 16 years? I led her over to the couch, settling in comfortably. Well, the moment I stumbled onto no man's land, I met Callum and Sebastian, a newly mated gay couple. We worked together, and they supported me throughout the years. I came up with the idea for the Dorge Organization one night when I was completely drunk. Callum and Sebastian helped me bring it to life, though they were the ones who actually started the mafia in the human world. I was furious that they didn't tell me about that before I caught them. Vivian laughed, a genuine, hearty sound. I assume you gave them a piece of your mind. I leaned back into the couch. I did, and then they roped me into the mafia too. All while I was busy raising Isla, Oliver, and Henry. I met them, they are nice kids, Vivian commented. I should hope so, I replied. Anyway, what about you? I asked Vivian, genuinely curious. She answered, a proud smile on her face. Well, I have 3 kids, and as you can see, I'm pregnant with another. My eldest daughter is Oriel, but it's Ben who's going to be the next beta. Oriel is 16, like your triplets. Ben is only 15. Then, there's Isabella, who's only 5. I'm the beta female of the Blood Moon pack, obviously. Curious, I asked another question. Do you know the gender of the next baby? Vivian smiled. Yep, another boy. By the way, your parents are still total assholes. It took them forever to even notice you were gone. I sighed, a familiar weariness settling over me. Which is precisely why I'm here instead of at their house. So, when can I finally meet the famous Edward? Now, Edward's voice boomed as he walked into the kitchen. I got up, extending my hand. Nice to meet you, I'm Georgiana. He smiled at me and shook my hand firmly. Nice to meet you too. Isla was right, she looks exactly like you, but with the alpha's eye color. I nodded. I told her. He turned to Vivian. Sweetie, the kids are coming down in 2 minutes. On that note, I decided to call my own kids. I let out a sharp whistle through our mind link. Everyone around me winced. It seemed to affect them too. I cringed, offering an apology. Sorry, that was just for my pups. Vivian smiled again. No biggie. Almost immediately, I heard my pups arrive, their footsteps light and quick. Isla spoke first, her voice polite. Vivian, Edward, nice to see you again. Soon after, we heard Vivian's kids arrive. I got up to look at them, eager to meet them, but I was suddenly pushed aside by Oliver and Henry. They both moved forward, possessively hugging Oriel, who was the first one down the stairs. Oh shit. Chapter 22. Oliver's point of view. The moment I saw her, I was in complete shock. My wolf was screaming in my head, a word I never thought I would hear so early, mate. Go to mate. I listened to my wolf without a moment's hesitation, and I could feel my brother doing the exact same thing. We pushed past our mother, who was looking at our beautiful mate with a bewildered expression. When we reached her, Henry and I buried our faces in the crook of her neck, inhaling her delicious, intoxicating scent. No one else in the room moved a muscle. Edward was the first to react, his voice filled with outrage. No way in hell is my little girl mated already. He reached forward to grab our mate, who I now realized was his daughter, but Henry and I let out a possessive growl. We clutched our mate even closer, a fierce protectiveness surging through us. Vivian spoke to her mate, her voice a calm warning. Honey, that's a bad idea. They are alpha wolves who have just found their mate. They know nothing about her, so any male around her would be a bad idea right now. I heard someone walk around us. I looked up only to see a 15-year-old boy, carrying a 5-year-old girl. I glared at them as they walked past us, heading towards Vivian. The boy said, his voice tinged with concern, Mom, is Oriel all right? Oriel. That was the name of our mate. What a beautiful name, perfectly suited for such a beautiful wolf. Conversation continued around us, a distant murmur, but my focus was entirely on our mate. I stared at her, drinking in every single feature. I could see her mouth forming the word, mate, over and over again, silently. Then, she started shaking. I didn't know why, so I simply held her tighter, pulling her even closer to me. I heard Vivian say, her voice laced with worry, oh my God, Edward, she is having another panic attack. Isla's voice, calm and in control, cut through the tension. I will deal with it. She approached us with an undeniable aura of fearlessness, and all the adults in the room held their breath, watching. What they didn't understand was that my wolf completely trusted Isla with our life, with our mate. Even if she wasn't an identical triplet like us, we shared a bond, a trust, that went beyond understanding. Isla placed a hand on both Henry and my shoulders. Even in the midst of her panic attack, Oriel let out a low growl at a female touching her mate. Isla's voice was soft, reassuring. I am their sister. Oliver, Henry, I need you to let me get to Oriel, okay? Go sit on the couch, and I will bring her to you. Everyone else is going to go to the other side of the room. When Isla gave orders, everyone obeyed. I detached myself from my mate, my wolf whimpering at the momentary loss of contact with our beloved. Henry and I walked to the couch and sat down, our eyes never leaving Oriel. I watched as Isla wrapped her arms around Oriel's small, still shaking frame. Isla whispered something in her ear, and to my surprise, Oriel calmed down almost immediately. Isla then turned back to the room, her eyes blazing with an intense frustration. Which person was the fucking idiot who didn't realize what Oriel has been going through? Everyone looked at each other, confused, not understanding what she was referring to. Isla sighed, a sound of profound exasperation, as if we were all complete idiots. She spoke very slowly, deliberately, as if addressing imbeciles. Oriel met the boys when she was 5 or something, when we rescued her from those rogues. She was then separated from them just after a traumatic event in her life. It is killing her. That is the problem. Now, I repeat my question, who was the fucking idiot who can't read the signs of a mating depression? A stunned silence filled the room. Isla released her hold on Oriel, who, without hesitation, ran directly to us. Henry and I were filled with a profound relief that she craved our touch too. We clutched our precious mate close to us, holding her tight. I could hear Isla stomping around the room, but my focus was entirely on the woman in front of me. What had truly happened to her that made her so afraid? Why had my brother and I only come into her life so late? We hadn't been there to protect her. Only then did Isla's yelling fully register in my ears. I expected you to notice the signs of a premature mate bond. At least Oliver and Henry had each other. Oriel had no one to fall back on. Vivian and Edward, I expected you to recognize the signs of her mating depression, or at least to bring her to someone who could recognize them. Ryder and Asher, you are the alphas, and this is something you absolutely should have noticed. Ben, I expected you to try and help your sister. I know that she shows all the signs, and you learn about this in wolf school. I couldn't help myself, a small smile touched my lips. Only Isla would be like this. Everyone mumbled apologies, and she sent them out of the room before following them herself. I backed up a little, creating a small space between Oriel and me. What is your name, sweetheart? I already knew her name, but I wanted to hear her say it. Oriel, she told me, her voice as beautiful as the rest of her. And you? I am Oliver, I replied, my gaze fixed on her. This is my twin, Henry. The girl earlier was Isla. We are actually triplets. Oriel tilted her head, a hint of confusion in her eyes. I have 2 mates? I smiled, a gentle reassurance in my voice. Yes, just Henry and I. Isla is not an identical triplet. As you can see, she has quite the personality. That made her laugh, a soft, lovely sound. I haven't seen someone so easily command 5 high-ranking wolves without so much as a complaint. Henry smiled at her, a warm, inviting expression. That's our Isla. Oriel, are you okay with the idea of having 2 mates? I glared at him, furious that he would even suggest she might reject us. I wouldn't let her. I had seen what rejection did to Mom, and it hurt both of us deeply. Oriel looked down at her feet, wringing her hands nervously. I am more worried that you would reject me. Who would want a broken wolf? I exploded, my voice booming with indignation. We would never reject you. How can you even think that? You are not broken. Immediately, I felt a pang of regret as I saw Oriel recoil away from me, her eyes wide with fear. Henry hugged her tightly into his body, glaring at me over her head. Through the mind link, he yelled at me, his frustration palpable. Idiot. Did you even listen to Isla? Oriel was kidnapped by rogues as a toddler and tortured. The incident cut off most of her connection with her wolf. In most packs, that is a disgrace to be a wolf without being able to shift. I wonder if the fact she cannot speak to her wolf has anything to do with the fact we met when we were young, but were separated. I focused on Oriel, my voice filled with desperate apology. Mate, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I would never hurt you or leave you. Oriel sniffled, and my heart broke for how much she had clearly suffered. You are our future alphas. I am a broken she-wolf. I yanked her gently into my chest, staring deeply into her eyes. I could never look at another woman after you. I would do anything for you. You are our other half. Look at me. She finally looked up, her gaze meeting mine, and I crashed my lips onto hers. She gasped in shock at the sudden action, giving me the perfect opening to deepen the kiss. Henry stepped in behind her, holding her up as her knees gave out from under her, overwhelmed by the pleasure. He trailed kisses down her collarbone as all three of us lost ourselves in the exquisite sensation of finally being together. I don't know how long we kissed. I was never going to stop if I had the choice. At least, I wasn't until Isla stormed back into the room, her voice cutting through the blissful haze. I see your problems are sorted out. Since your dearest mate is 16, I would appreciate that you wait a little while before making me an aunt. Now, I am taking Oriel and getting to know my new sister. She walked over and gently but firmly grabbed Oriel, pulling her away. I mouthed at her playfully, a silent accusation. Cock blocker. Isla just shrugged, an unrepentant smirk on her face. If anyone else had burst in here, would have attacked them, or at least my wolf would have. But since Isla was my triplet, she posed no threat to my wolf because we trusted her completely with our mate. Isla walked out with Oriel. I thought to myself that perhaps some distance would help Henry and me not to fully claim her so soon. I knew I had only just met her, but I already loved my mate, my Oriel, with every fiber of my being. Chapter 23. Isla's point of view. I got Oriel out of there just before my brothers could finish their claiming ceremony. I was absolutely not ready to be an aunt, not at all. Oriel and I walked side by side in a comfortable silence. I led her outside and into the whispering quiet of the forest. We got many curious stares, and some outright glares, from the other pack members. I didn't miss the pack's bimbo population sneering in Oriel's direction. Once I deemed us far enough away from everyone, I turned to Oriel. I'm Isla, your mate's sister, as I'm sure they told you. I want you to be able to trust me and talk to me, really talk to me. The vibe I'm getting is that not a lot of people in this pack treat you right. Talk to me, Oriel. We can be friends, real friends. I was desperate to reach her. I don't know how, but the moment you entered the room, I could sense almost a shadow shrouding her. When I looked into her eyes, I saw so much pain and the lingering presence of her ghosts there too. I knew, instinctively, that I needed to help her. Oriel turned away from me, wrapping her arms tightly around herself, a clear sign of her discomfort. In response, I stepped forward and gently wrapped my arms around her. I started talking, my gaze fixed on the expansive view from the hill we were on, a place I had specifically chosen for its solitude. I remember you. I remember feeling so incredibly sad when we first brought you home after those awful rogues. I remember how we were the best of friends, inseparable, until Mom figured out you were Vivian's child and you were returned to your pack. I remember the absolute hissy fit my brothers threw when you were taken away from us. I remember you, Oriel. Oriel's attention was fully on me now, and I continued, my voice soft but firm. I know your situation now. You forget that I am the Dorge Organization. Anyone not welcome in their packs is welcome in our home, always. Livy, a friend of mine, joined us 2 years ago because she lost her wolf and her ability to shift when her mate died. Her pack was unbelievably cruel towards her after that. With us, she is whole again, complete, and truly lives again. Don't be afraid to tell me things, Oriel. I want us to be the best friends we were when we were younger. I stroked her hair gently. I want to be your sister in every sense of the word. You are my family, and for family, I will never stop fighting. Now, tell me, what has truly happened since we have been separated? I don't know what it was that finally broke through to her. But the next moment, Oriel burst into tears, deep, gut-wrenching sobs. I hugged her tighter, and we sank to the ground, me holding her as she cried. She eventually got her emotions under control, her voice trembling as she spoke. I am the broken she-wolf. They tell me that I should have died and never come back. The pack believes I am just a waste of space. Mom and Dad barely have time for me, so why should anyone else? I am ugly. I don't deserve to be a beta's daughter. I can't be Luna, I am not made for it. My wolf won't talk to me. I cannot shift. I shushed her gently, my voice firm with conviction. You better not believe the lies those bimbos tell you. You deserve the world, and you are absolutely beautiful. I am sure your inability to shift is due to the fact you were ripped away from your mates at such a young age. Now, tell me who says these things, and I will personally go beat them up. That surprised a small, shaky laugh out of her. You believe me? I frowned, my brow furrowing. Of course, I do. Why wouldn't I? Oriel mumbled, her voice barely audible. Mom and Dad say that I'm just being silly. My jaw clenched. Oh, I was definitely going to have a conversation with her parents. I was sure they thought they were doing the right thing, trying to be tough, but I was going to give them an ass-whooping they wouldn't soon forget. I started stroking her hair again, a soothing motion. You are not silly, Oriel. Family stands together, always. She timidly asked me, can you tell me more about the Dorge Organization? It's such a big part of my mates' lives, I want to know more about it. I smiled, a genuine, warm smile. Of course, I will. But only if you tell me every little thing those assholes in the pack did to you. Deal? Oriel nodded, a small spark of defiance in her eyes. Deal. I leaned back, getting comfortable. The Dorge Organization was started by Mom, along with Callum and Sebastian, who are a gay, mated werewolf couple. It began as a way to provide a pack for rogues, to stop them from going crazy from isolation. Mom wanted to create a support system, just like the one she had with Callum and Sebastian. In the human world, we are a powerful mafia. Now, we rescue humans who know about the supernaturals, or supernaturals themselves, from all sorts of dangerous situations. We take down hunter operations and rogue groups. Oriel interrupted, her curiosity piqued. Why humans, though? I looked at her, my expression serious. If we didn't rescue the humans, they would simply be recruited by the hunters. We offer them another, safer option. We also help witches and warlocks/wizards. As you know, the Alpha Kings of the world want their power, and those groups are almost extinct because of it. The Alpha Kings hate us because we stand in their way. The Alpha King of North and South America shares a special, burning hatred for us too, especially since our home base is right here. I continued to talk for a while, explaining the intricacies of the organization, until I turned to Oriel. Your turn now. She obeyed, and described every single torture her bullies had put her through. By the end of her story, I was absolutely livid, my blood boiling with rage. The lead bimbo, as I internally called her, had even tried to kill Oriel at one point, simply because Oriel had pointed out that she had no chance with the alphas, who were pining after their true, lost mate. Oriel didn't know it, but she unconsciously calmed me just by talking. Oriel spoke of better days to come, and of mates. I didn't really know how I felt about mates yet, for myself. I knew that my mate would need to be absolutely okay with me leading the Dorge Organization. But hopefully, that entire situation would happen much later in my life. I offered Oriel a hand, helping her up. I think it's time to head back now. Instead of answering, Oriel simply took my hand, and we walked back towards the house together. Once we emerged from the protective cover of the forest, the bimbos descended upon us. These were the motherfuckers who dared to bully my sister. The bitches. The lead bitch, who looked like a box of crayons had exploded in her face, tried to intimidate us, and I was trying really, really hard not to laugh. She sneered, turning her venomous gaze to me. I'm Jessica. You should be with me. I'm practically the Luna of the pack. What are you doing with a broken she-wolf? You're obviously the sister of those hunky twins. Come with them instead of being with this disappointment. Jessica made a move to shove Oriel, but I stepped in front of her, blocking her path. She tried to shove me and met a solid wall. I had a six-pack, a result of years of rigorous training, while she was just a skinny bitch. It was obvious she hadn't fought a day in her life, but as rogues, we fought to live every single day. She frowned at me, clearly frustrated that I was completely unaffected. Get out of the way. I can make your life hell in this pack. This bitch, she spat, gesturing contemptuously at Oriel, deserves everything I give her. I mean, I am the Alpha's Luna. I smirked, a dangerous glint in my eyes. As their daughter, I can assure you that you are most certainly not their Luna. This time, she sneered, her voice shrill. I am. I took a deliberate step forward, and she instinctively took a step back. Even if she tried to pretend to intimidate, her wolf knew when they had met a bigger predator. I took another step forward and shoved her, not gently. Watch your mouth. I have lived as a rogue for a very long time. I have seen battle, and I have killed to protect my family. Oriel is my family, so back off, now. Instead of taking the hint, Jessica, true to form, resorted to threats. Bitch, you have no right to mess with me. Brian. I was slightly confused. Was she calling someone to help her? Then, a huge, hulking giant of a man came lumbering out of the woods. Damn, was that Brian? Jessica smirked, a triumphant gleam in her eyes. Brian, this lady is being rude. Make her stop. I smiled, a challenging glint in my eye. Come on, I can take him. Jessica frowned, clearly not expecting that response. Well then, Jason, Chase, Levi, Mark, Benny. 5 more guys emerged from different directions, surrounding us. Well, shit, the last one even had a gun. No wonder Oriel was so afraid of these people. It appeared that this slut had slept with a bunch of guys who were now at her beck and call. Once more, Jessica smirked at me, radiating a sickening sense of superiority. Now, boys, this girl wanted to play with the grown-ups. Care to teach her a lesson? I quickly evaluated my choices. They had surrounded me, so I couldn't run. There were 6 of them and only one of me, plus I had to protect Oriel. If Oriel wasn't here, I would fight, without a second thought. But I could not risk her getting hurt. We were too far for any of my family to come. Except Stefan. If you are a very old vampire, you get certain abilities, per se. With Stefan, he could teleport. My bracelet. It was Mom's idea, a safety measure. It sent out an emergency mind link to Stefan with my exact location, so he could come help. Mom made me wear it because I have a tendency to get myself into trouble. The only problem was that Stefan couldn't take anyone with him when he teleported, and it would exhaust him considerably. But I had no other choice. The slut's boys were approaching quickly, and one actually had a gun pointed at me. I took a deep breath and hit the hidden button on my bracelet. Meanwhile, Jessica was bragging, her voice full of false pride. I told you that I was the Luna of the pack. See all these wolves coming to protect me. I muttered under my breath, more like they want some sex, and you'll give it to them if they help you. Apparently, she heard me, because she glared, her eyes narrowed. Whatever. Boys, make her pay. Come on, Stefan, hurry the fuck up. I really didn't feel like being beaten up right now. As if my words had conjured him, Stefan appeared right in front of me in a defensive position. His fangs were out, and he was ready for a fight, with a gun in each hand. His sudden appearance made everyone freeze, their eyes wide with shock. One of the boys, Jason, I think, exclaimed, "What is a bloodsucker doing here?" I told them, my voice sharp and clear, "This is precisely why you should be careful about who you challenge. Stefan, here, is my friend. Back off." You have never fought a vampire before. I know you will lose. Even if, by some miracle, you win, my fathers will hurt you, as will my brothers. A confused look passed over the boys' faces, then Jessica shrieked, her voice high-pitched and furious. What are you waiting for? There are 2 of them and 6 of you. Do as I asked. Nonchalantly, I looked down at my nails, completely unperturbed, as if this were the most boring conversation. If you do that, the alphas will be very upset. The boy, I think it was Levi, cocked his head, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. Why would the alphas care about a bloodsucker's friend? I looked up at them, my gaze sweeping over their faces. You don't remember me? I'm hurt. I'm the girl who interrupted the pack meeting with my yelling. A look of dawning recognition passed over their faces. I am also Isla Pembroke, daughter of Georgiana Fairmont, Alpha Harrison, and Alpha Jasper. Nice to meet you all. They froze, their BR Georgianato completely shattered as they heard the undeniable truth in my words. Their faces were pure, unadulterated panic. The Alpha's temper was legendary, and family was paramount to them. The boys loved sex, but they liked living even more. As one, the boys turned and ran the hell away from us. I grinned, a wide, triumphant smile, when Jessica threw a spectacular hissy fit at them for leaving her. I walked up to her, my hand connecting sharply with her nose. I have been wanting to do that since we first met. I am going to report you to my fathers. I doubt they will be pleased that you threatened their daughter and their son's mate. One of the bimbo's sidekicks, looking terrified, dared to ask, who is their son's mate? I smirked, a cold, hard expression. Why, Oriel, of course. I am sure they will love to hear how you tortured their mate throughout the years. The bimbos paled, their faces draining of color, and then, even Jessica herself, turned and ran away, tail between her legs. I had their sense, and my wolf would thoroughly enjoy the chase later. I turned to Stefan, a genuine smile replacing my snarl. Thanks for the backup. You can head back now, but don't tell Mom. He smirked, a knowing glint in his ancient eyes. Whenever you're in trouble, you never want me to tell. I shoved him playfully. You know what I mean. With that, Stefan disappeared in a blink. I turned to Oriel now, my expression softening. Let's get you back to your mates. Chapter 24. Georgiana's point of view. Isla was out training with the pack wolves, who were probably being thoroughly beaten up by her right now. Oliver and Henry were bonding with their newly found mate, and I was genuinely happy for them. My mates were catching up on what had happened in their pack while they were out of it, away from their responsibilities. I was wandering around the pack house by myself, feeling a little wary, but my mates were quickly winning me over, making me feel more at home. My wolf was slowly, cautiously, coming back to me, the deep depression that had shrouded her for so long gradually lifting. I hoped, with every fiber of my being, that everything was finally going to work out. I was in the living room, watching TV, when a woman walked in. I guess she was beautiful by some standards. But for me, her makeup was far too much, her clothes too tight and too small, her chest looked too plastic, and her hair too fake. She called out, her voice overly sweet, "Honey, sweetie, I'm back." I frowned. Who was she calling for? Only my mates lived here, they had assured me of it. The lady looked at me, her perfect brows furrowing in a matching frown. Who are you? It was my turn to be confused. I am Georgiana, the Alpha's mate. Who are you? Suddenly, her face twisted into a sneer, a truly ugly expression. I am Alicia. You must be the Alpha's runaway mate. They told me all about their plan regarding you. Ree and Ash also told me you would be out of the way for a while, so we could see each other again. We missed each other so much. What the hell was going on? What was Alicia referring to? And she had called them Ree and Ash, nicknames only someone very close would use. I tilted my head to the side, my voice tight. What are you talking about? She came over and, with what felt like a patronizing gesture, patted my back. I feel bad for you, honestly. I told them not to use you, but they just didn't listen to me. Sweetie, they fully intended to reject you the night they left. The story about Edward getting them out was a complete lie. Her words were like a physical punch to my gut, stealing my breath. I was in a relationship with them at the time, a secret one. They promised me their undying love, and for me to be their Luna. Sleeping with you was a mistake on their part, a moment of weakness. I mumbled, the words barely audible, no, they wouldn't do that. But then a sickening doubt crept in. Would they? I didn't know them well enough anymore, did I? She gently brought me over to the couch, forcing me to sit. Poor girl. They would. I feel so incredibly bad for you. They absolutely didn't want me to tell you anything. For the last 16 years, we were together, a unit. They completely forgot about you until your kids came up out of the blue, demanding help. Their wolves, who didn't handle the rejection well, spoke to them again when your pups asked for help, and that's when they saw an opportunity. They would win either way, you see. I am pregnant, but their eldest child, your son, would be more powerful, so they needed the twins. Also, the twins planned to pretend to love you and make you Luna, solely to have the power and the stability that comes from having their true mate, their bond complete. I was always to be on the side, their hidden love, their secret comfort. I was crying silently now, no sound escaping my lips, just hot tears sliding down my face in endless streams. That's why they never found me, they never looked. They never truly cared. Alicia continued, her voice devoid of true ambivian, almost pitying. I didn't mind, as long as I stayed with Ash and Ree. But now that I've seen you, I don't think you deserve such a cruel fate. I understood now. Alicia was beautiful, in a superficial way, and she would be perfect for them, a blank slate for their desires. I could feel my wolf, Elle, sinking back into her deep, familiar depression, the darkness closing in. I had to get away, immediately. Alicia added, almost as an afterthought, if you really want, I have videos of us three together to convince you, to show you what they're really like. I just don't want to let you get hurt anymore. I couldn't bring myself to watch the videos. It would be too painful, too devastating, for me and for my already fragile wolf. I was in complete shock at this total, horrifying reversal of the situation. I recovered from my silent crying, forcing myself to turn to Alicia. Thank you for telling me. I need to go, now. She cooed, her voice sugary sweet, of course, sweetheart. You don't deserve all that has happened to you. I love the twins, but sometimes they are a little bit greedy, especially when it comes to power and, well, in bed. Alicia chuckled at her own dark joke, but her words felt like shards of glass, hurting my heart a little more with each one. I had trusted them, and I had been betrayed, utterly. Henry and Oliver would still become alphas, but they could visit me as long as they told no one of my new location. I always wanted to check the Asian branches of the Dorge Organization, now I could. I needed to find Henry or Oliver first, immediately. I knew that they were most likely with their mate, Oriel. After Oriel had taken off with Isla for most of the day, my sons would want her near them, their presence a constant comfort. I burst into their room and found Henry alone, sitting quietly. At my unasked question, he answered, his voice a little lazy. Oliver wanted to go get Oriel's things from her room. I felt too lazy to walk. I tried to smile, to reassure him, but it came out as a grotesque grimace instead. Henry frowned, his eyes immediately assessing my distress. Mom, what's wrong? With those words, the dam broke. I leaped into his embrace, clinging to him, and started crying, truly crying, my sobs tearing through me. I couldn't hold it in anymore. My pups were loyal to the end, they would never betray me like their fathers had. I tried to explain through my tears, my voice fractured and broken. Why your fathers have someone else? They are using me. They don't love me. It's a trick. They want power. I need to leave. I can't stay here. They have been with. Alicia W. While we W were gone. They don't care about me. Henry held me tight, but I could feel his anger, a palpable tremor in his arms. I am so sorry, Mom, but I can't let you leave right now. I frowned, pushing back slightly, confusion mixing with my despair. W.I.? He sighed, a heavy, defeated sound. I wish I could, but the deal was made that you have to stay a week with them once you are healed. You still have 3 days left before I can legally, within the contract, make you disappear. But as long as you stay on their territory, you are within their reach. If you stay hidden somewhere on their territory for the next couple of days, then I am within the contract, and I can get you out. I managed a weak, watery smile, a spark of hope igniting within me. Thank you, Henry. He smiled sadly back, a grim promise in his eyes. And they might be in the hospital for the next 3 days once I get through with them. I warned them not to hurt you, and now I will start following through with my threat, making them pay. I unlocked myself from Henry's embrace. He was so much taller than I was now, a strong, protective man. With one last look back at him, a silent promise, I dashed out of his room and then, out of the pack house itself. I could stay on the border of the territory, or find some other hidden spot. Anywhere but here. Chapter 25. Henry's point of view. I hated the fucking alphas. I had warned them, I had explicitly told them not to hurt my mother, their mate, their one true soulmate. And then, Mom came running to me, her face streaked with tears, talking about how the alphas had been seeing someone else the entire time, how they had a secret lover hidden away. I had threatened them with emasculation, with the complete destruction of everything they held dear, yet they still hurt my mother, Ma Mir, mean mutter. I was going to follow through with every single one of my threats. I mind-linked Oliver, my voice grim. Stay with our mate. I have something I need to take care of, something vitally important. We'll watch a movie, Oliver calmly informed me, his voice a soothing balm. I cut off the link immediately. I couldn't tell Oliver what had truly happened, not yet, because there was a real chance that he would go after them too, fueled by the same righteous rage. But I needed him to stay with our mate, to protect her, to keep her safe. I stormed out of my room, my footsteps heavy with purpose, and followed the alphas sent to their office. Of course, they prioritized their work over their own mate, over the woman they claimed to love. Bastards. Without a single knock, I swung the door open, the wood crashing against the wall, and glared at them. Their faces registered immediate confusion. Apparently, they didn't yet know that Mom had been fully informed of their ultimate betrayal. I sneered at them, my voice dripping with disdain. I warned you not to hurt her. Ryder tilted his head to the side, his expression still bewildered. What do you mean, son? I am not your son. I yelled, the words ripping from my throat. Asher approached me, a hand outstretched, a look of concern on his face. What did we do? I shoved him away from me with a force that surprised even myself. You lost your last chance with your mate. You completely blew it. The room seemed to freeze in its movements, the temperature dropping a palpable 20 degrees. I watched them, saw the internal struggle as they fought their wolves for dominance. Their wolves loved Mom, I knew that with absolute certainty. It was the human part of them, the flawed, deceptive part, that I wanted to beat to a pulp. Asher and Ryder eventually won their internal fight, gaining control. Ryder ordered me, his voice strained, tightly controlled. Explain yourself, Henry. I smirked, a bitter, cold twist of my lips. You really thought that Mom wouldn't find out about your hidden bitch, Alicia? You thought you could keep that secret forever? Their faces, which had been confused, now morphed into an even deeper bewilderment, an almost genuine look of shock. I faltered for a brief moment. They were acting like they knew nothing, like they were completely innocent. But that's what they were doing, acting. Both of them had tricked me before, manipulated me, so they could certainly trick me again. I regained my confident demeanor, my resolve hardening. Asher questioned me, his voice laced with confusion. What about Alicia? What's she got to do with anything? I took a deliberate step forward, my voice low and menacing. That you have been fucking Alicia the entire time, keeping her as your secret lover, and you only want Mom for the power of a true Luna, for the benefits her bond brings you. The confusion on their faces vanished, replaced by pure, unadulterated rage. We have done no such thing. That is an outright lie. I laughed bitterly, a hollow, mirthless sound. Then tell me why my mother was in tears, absolutely broken, because someone called Alicia had concrete proof of your twisted relationship. You broke my mother, shattered her spirit, so you will never see her again. Not ever. With that last sentence, I pushed them over the edge. Asher lunged at me, his eyes blazing, and pinned me by my throat to the wall, his grip like steel. Easily, I slipped out of his hold with a swift, unexpected punch to his throat. Ryder, ever the opportunist, kicked me, knocking me down the moment I got free from Asher. I used the momentum from my fall to roll out of their way, expertly avoiding his next attack. I got up behind them and landed a solid hit to Asher's knee, effectively putting him down, at least for a moment. I circled Ryder, my eyes sharp, looking for any weakness, any vulnerability. Meanwhile, Ryder spoke, his voice strained but surprisingly calm despite the raging battle. I do not know of what lies you speak, Henry, but I promise you that neither Asher nor I have been with someone, not touched another woman, since your mom left us 16 years ago. We swore off of it. Asher, still on the floor but recovering, added, his voice raspy. Our wolves swore they would never let us shift again if we strayed, not that we ever wanted to. Ever since we laid eyes on your mother, we belonged to her, completely consumed by her, and longed for no one else. Their unexpected words, spoken amidst the chaos, gave a chance for all three of us to cool down, a subtle shift in the air. Asher showed that he no longer wished to fight by remaining in his vulnerable position on the floor, accepting my dominance for the moment. Ryder quickly followed suit, sinking into the nearby couch, not perching on it with guarded tension, but truly collapsing into it, a sign of exhaustion. I was the last to let my guard down, slowly relaxing my muscles, but I remained standing, ever vigilant. Unimpressed by their sudden calm, I looked at them, taking in the destruction that was now their office, overturned furniture and scattered papers. You have exactly 2 minutes to convince me, to make me believe you, or we will finish this fight, and I promise you, I won't hold back. Asher, still on the floor, began to speak, his voice earnest. Like all packs, there are women and men who wish to gain power, to climb the social ladder. Alicia, Jessica, just to name a few, they are bloodthirsty, opportunistic. Jessica and Alicia behave in the exact same way, by sleeping around, manipulating. The men, their pawns, listen to them, but in their warped minds, each of these women are convinced they are our mates, our rightful Luna. Ryder continued, his voice tight with anger. Jessica was the one directly responsible for the attack on your mate and sister yesterday, Henry. With those words, he immediately set me back on edge, my guard snapping back up. What attack? Why wasn't I informed of this? I was so going to bust Isla about this. She had some serious explaining to do. Asher hit Ryder over the head, a frustrated smack. You idiot. Isla is going to kill us now. She explicitly told us not to tell him about it. Ryder rubbed the back of his head, a sheepish look on his face. Not my fault, I forgot, Asher. I sighed at their familiar bickering, which was just like Isla and Oliver's. Now, explain that statement about an attack, or Isla isn't the only one who is going to kill you, I promise you that. Asher sighed, a long-suffering sound. Well, Jessica has been obsessed with us, and now you, for a while. She craves power and desperately wants to be Luna. Jessica cornered your mate and sister yesterday, completely ambushing them. She was demanding that Isla come with them, since she was your sister, thinking she could exert influence over you. When Isla defended Oriel, standing up for her, Jessica called out her many boy toys, her little male minions. They even had a gun, so Isla got Stefan to show up, calling him with her emergency bracelet. She scared off the boys and punched Jessica squarely in the nose. Isla also specifically wanted Oriel to tell you the full story herself, on her own terms, when she was ready. I nodded my head, processing the new information, the pieces starting to click into place. Continue with the story from before, about Alicia. Ryder said, his voice earnest, pleading. These women make these irrational, baseless claims, fueled by their own delusions of grandeur. It is entirely our fault for leaving Georgiana alone, so vulnerable, from our new, developing relationship, so close to these malicious people. Her proof was probably something from before we even met your mother, before she was a part of our lives. Back then, yes, we slept around, we were playboys, but not since your mother. Never since your mother. I thought about their words, carefully weighing them. I wanted to believe them so badly, with every fiber of my being. It could be true, a desperate misunderstanding, or it could be another elaborate lie, another deception. I looked up at Ryder and Asher, their faces now vulnerable, stripped bare of their usual alpha masks. I could see the profound guilt of leaving Mom alone, unprotected, the raw fear of her leaving them again, forever. These emotions were all shown on their faces, as plain as day, as clear as the sky. These powerful alphas, so imposing and commanding, could be read as easily as an open book. That is what made the decision for me, tilting the scales. I told them, my voice firm with newfound belief. I believe you. I truly do. But we might have a problem, a rather significant one. Mom is planning on hiding somewhere on your territory for the rest of the week before leaving for Europe, completely disappearing. She respects the deal, even while doing this, waiting out her time. A determined, resolute look came over Ryder and Asher's faces, a fierce resolve burning in their eyes. We will find her, Henry, and we will make it right. We will make everything right, no matter what it takes. They still weren't moving, still rooted to the spot, paralyzed by their realization. I yelled at them, my voice sharp with urgency, then go fix it. Go find her, now, before shoving them out the door, propelling them into action. I hoped, with every fiber of my being, that I was making the right decision by trusting them again, by giving them this one last chance. Chapter 26. Ryder's point of view. Asher and I raced out of the office, away from Henry's furious presence and directly towards our mate. I couldn't believe that due to our stupid, arrogant oversight, due to our blindness, we had almost lost her again. We knew how some women in the pack behaved towards us, their obsessive tendencies, and we still left Georgiana alone, vulnerable to their poisonous words. Our wolves were also howling in our minds, a desperate, guttural sound, not wanting to lose their mate, our mate, again, not for a second time. We sped up, our urgency increasing with every pounding beat of our hearts. What Georgiana didn't know when she chose to run was that her unique scent would stick out to us the most, especially since we had been apart for so long. Since her return, since she graced our lives once more, our senses have tripled when it came to her, every nuance of her scent amplified. When we arrived in the living room, there stood Alicia, poised and seemingly innocent. Immediately, my wolf, a primal force of nature, took complete control of my body. To him, Alicia was no longer just a pack member, an inconvenience, but rather some insidious wolf who had nearly cost us our mate, who had threatened our very bond. I was now a helpless observer, trapped within my own body, watching as my wolf acted. When she saw us, Alicia stood up and sashayed towards us, her movements deliberate, her voice overly sweet and cloying. "Sweeties, you are back. I am so happy to see you, Ree and Ash." Within a single, furious breath, I, or rather my wolf, had her pinned to the wall by her throat, a move we preferred to use, a quick, effective way to exert dominance. On my side, Asher's voice, a low growl, threatened her. "Listen to us this one and only time, Alicia. If you ever talk to us again, if you even breathe the same air as us, we will kill you. You nearly cost my brother and I our mate, the most precious thing in our lives. The only reason you will survive this is because we simply don't have the time to kill you right now. Our priority is finding Georgiana." Alicia still managed to choke out, her voice ragged, "I am your mate." I growled at her, a deep, guttural sound that vibrated through the room. "You have never been, are not, and will never be our mate, Alicia. You could never, ever, satisfy us. Leave here with your life, and leave us alone forever." She nodded frantically, her eyes wide with fear, and I released her, letting her crumple to the floor. We took off again, leaving Alicia's crumpled figure behind us, forgotten. She had been a meaningless one-night stand about 17 years ago, and thought she meant something to us, thought she held some power. Even before we found our mate, even before we knew Georgiana was alive, she was nothing to us, a fleeting shadow. Her intoxicating, unique scent led us to the very edge of our border, to a shimmering lake. Then, her scent abruptly disappeared. She must have gone into the water and stayed submerged in the area to block her scent, a clever but ultimately futile tactic. I yelled out, my voice echoing across the water, "Georgiana, come out. We need to talk to you, please." No answer. Asher and I started walking around the lake's perimeter, searching every inch. Soon enough, we reached a majestic waterfall, its cascades of water shimmering in the sunlight. I took off my shirt, not hesitating for a second, and dived into the frigid water. I knew that the waterfall had a hidden cave behind it, a secret sanctuary. Asher quickly followed, which I could tell by the powerful splash I heard behind me. I swam through the shimmering curtain of water, pushing through the cold spray, to be greeted by a dark and damp cave. In the corner, I could faintly make out the shape of a body, huddled and small. My heightened nose, honed by years of longing, told me what my eyes could not fully discern in the dim light. It was Georgiana, my dearest mate, my precious queen, who right now was crying because of us, a devastating fact which broke my heart a little more with each silent sob. I called out, my voice soft, filled with a deep, aching tenderness. "Georgiana." Asher's point of view. Ryder was calling out to our mate, his voice filled with concern, when I simply approached her silently, a ghost in the dim light. I knelt down in front of her, my heart aching, and wrapped my arms around her when she didn't answer to Ryder's call, when she remained hidden in her grief. Georgiana immediately started to struggle, pushing against my embrace, her voice muffled and broken. "Leave me alone, you cheaters. Just leave me alone." She hit at my chest, but there was no true force behind her blows, her heart wasn't in it, her spirit too wounded. Georgiana quickly gave up, going limp in my arms, exhausted and defeated. I gently brought her over to a brighter part of the cave, where Ryder quickly joined us, his face etched with worry. I sat down, holding her securely to my lap, while Ryder carefully held her hand, a tender connection. I whispered comforting things in her ears, soft reassurances, as Georgiana slowly calmed down, her sobs subsiding. Ryder, his voice gentle and apologetic, asked her, "Why did you run from us, love? Why did you disappear?" Her tears returned, a fresh wave of sorrow. "You don't care about me, not really, only about the power that I would bring you as your true Luna. You replaced me with Alicia, she said so, she showed me proof." I shushed her, stroking her hair. "Not at all, my princess. That couldn't be farther from the truth, darling. Ever since you left us 16 years back, we never thought about, not even touched, another woman other than you. How could we, when you consumed our every waking thought, every single dream?" Georgiana sniffled, her voice still laced with doubt. "You are lying to me again, just like before." Ryder kissed her forehead, a soft, reassuring touch. "Love, we could never lie to you, not now, not ever. Our wolves yearn for you in every moment of the day, their longing a constant ache. If you leave us again, I don't think that Asher and I could survive that again, not a second time. It would break us completely." That got her attention, a flicker of something in her eyes, a spark of concern. "No, you guys aren't allowed to die." Her face was still hidden in my shirt, muffled against my chest. I smiled at her sadly, a bittersweet expression. "Without you, our queen, by our side, what is there truly to live for? Our lives would be empty." Georgiana clutched me closer, burying her face deeper into my shirt. Even if she was currently mad at us, even if her heart was wounded, her wolf yearned for us too, its instinct overriding her anger. It reassured me, giving me a profound sense of hope that there was still a chance for us, for our bond. Ryder told her, his voice firm and unwavering. Love, whatever Alicia told you is absolutely false. There is no one else in the world for us but you, only you, our mate. Georgiana muttered, her voice barely audible, the raw vulnerability exposed. But how can I trust that you won't betray me again? How can I ever believe you? I rubbed her back, a soothing, rhythmic motion. If we ever betray you, if we ever cause you pain again, we will die, Georgiana, whether it be by our own hands, disgusted that we have sunk so low as to have hurt you, or by those who loved you too much to see you suffer at our hands. You would have every right. She yanked Ryder into our embrace too, pulling him closer, forming a tight, protective huddle. I love you too, so much, but I am so incredibly scared of getting hurt again, of feeling that pain. Ryder kissed her on the lips, a light, tender peck only, a promise in the gentle contact. We love you so much it hurts, Georgiana, a constant, beautiful ache. We will do anything you want, anything we need to get you to stay with us, to be truly happy. Georgiana mumbled in response, her voice soft against my chest. I want you never to hurt me again. That's all I ask. Oh, love, Ryder muttered, his voice choked with emotion as he held her close, pressing a kiss to her hair. I asked her gently, my voice filled with hope, will you come back with us now? Will you come home? Georgiana retorted, a flash of her spirit returning. Will you hurt me again? Ryder lifted her gently into the air, holding her suspended for a moment, his eyes locked on hers. If we ever do, you can do to us whatever you deem fit, Georgiana. We give you that power. She looked at me, her gaze steady now. I just don't want to get hurt, not anymore. I squeezed her hand, a silent vow passing between us. I swear that we won't. Never again. With that, Ryder left the cave, giving us a moment of quiet. I was so incredibly relieved that Georgiana was staying with us, that she had chosen us, and that Alicia's poisonous words did not have any lasting, irreparable effects on our fragile, rebuilding relationship. If they had cost us our mate, I would have killed her, without a moment's hesitation. At least now, we had our beautiful mate back in our arms, where she belonged. Chapter 27. Oliver's point of view. Henry had explained everything that had happened between Mom and the Alphas, the whole heartbreaking truth. I had wanted to go beat them up, to truly pummel them into oblivion, but I understood his reasoning, his need to stay with our mate. I still had the burning need to go kill Alicia, especially once Oriel had bravely opened up about the abuse she had endured from Jessica and her cronies. I had punched several holes in the wall during that confession, my rage uncontrolled, but my darling mate, sweet Oriel, had calmly, gently, brought me back, soothing my anger. But she had also convinced me, with soft words and logic, that it was a bad idea to go murder Jessica, that it would only complicate things. I loved Oriel already, with a ferocity that surprised me. We had just met her, but I had never felt so strongly, so intensely, before in my life. Right now, I was in bed, with Oriel cradled safely in my arms, and Henry on her other side, our perfect, protective sandwich. We were both wide awake, watching our mates sleep, a profound sense of peace settling over us. We had had an exhaustive, emotionally draining evening once Henry came back from whatever he had had to do and had explained the whole Alicia situation to us. Oriel had then bravely admitted to the abuse she had been put through in the pack, the constant torment, and how she had kept it from us, carrying that burden alone. It had been a truly loaded evening, heavy with confessions and tears. Now, Oriel was at peace, no worries bothering her in her sleep, her breathing even and soft. Henry and I made eye contact over her sleeping form, our eyes meeting in silent understanding, after staring at our beautiful mate, not creepy at all, just completely mesmerized. I mouthed to Henry, the single word, beautiful. He nodded enthusiastically, a mirroring sentiment in his eyes. Identical twins often had a harder time finding their mates, because there were two of us for one mate, a double bond to fulfill. I was incredibly grateful that we had found ours at 16, not having to wait 4 long years, like our fathers had. Oriel stirred in her sleep, a small, sleepy sigh escaping her lips, and both of us held our breath, frozen in place. If she woke up while we were staring at her, that would be awkward for her, perhaps a little unsettling. Not for us, we were past awkwardness. Suddenly, our peaceful moment was shattered by a girl storming into our room, without knocking, without a single polite warning. What the hell? I swear to God, I was going to kill this woman, whoever she was, for daring to interrupt our sacred space. Henry immediately jumped up and put our mates safely behind him, a primal, protective instinct. He instantly dropped into a defensive crouch, his muscles coiling, while I tensed, preparing to lunge at the intruder, ready to tear her apart. What can I say? Living as a rogue built up some rather intense habits. As I quickly realized it was a harmless girl, clearly not an enemy, I scowled, my anger morphing into irritation. What possible good reason could she have for bursting in here like this, in such a state? I didn't recognize her, so I was still on my guard, my wolf wary. I questioned her, my voice sharp. Who are you? Who do you want? She was out of breath, panting, like she had just run all the way here. Unknown wolves at the border. An attack. I jumped up, my mind snapping to immediate alert. Oriel was awake now, disturbed by the noise, her eyes wide with alarm. Shit, shit, shit. Who could be attacking? Were their intentions friendly, or hostile? Henry quickly told Oriel, his voice urgent, go to the bunker, now. Get to safety. He swiftly handed her his emergency bracelet, which could contact people at our HQ, our base for the Dorge Organization. If someone hurts you, hit this button, and our people from the organization will come, they'll be here in an instant. I mind-linked Isla, Callum, Sebastian, my fathers, and my mother, my message sharp and concise. Unknown wolves at the border. Meet us there. Mom, too. With that, I cut off the link, not waiting for replies. I started running towards the border with my brother, our bodies moving in sync, not before ordering the startled girl to get Oriel to safety, to ensure her protection above all else. Honestly, could we not catch a break? We just wanted some peace, some quiet time with our mate, to simply exist. Was that truly too much to ask for? When we arrived at the border, everyone was already there, assembled and ready. They were deep in discussion, their faces grim. Isla, Mom, Callum, Sebastian, Ryder, and Asher all looked up at us when they heard us arrive, our heavy footsteps crunching on the earth. I asked, my voice direct, who are the wolves? What do we know about them? Isla answered, her voice calm despite the tension. The Alpha King of North and South America has come to pay the Blood Moon Pack a very unwelcome visit. Apparently, he received an anonymous tip that some of the higher rankers of the Dorge Organization are here, on your territory. I cursed under my breath, a harsh sound. Shit. Who tipped them off? Don't tell me, it was probably Alicia or Jessica. Can't those bitches take the hint and just disappear? Ryder questioned us, his gaze sharp. Can he recognize any of you as coming from the Dorge Organization, as being part of our inner circle? I nodded. He knows Callum and Sebastian personally, by sight. For Mom, Isla, Henry, and I, he knows of our existence, our roles, but not our appearance. He wouldn't recognize our faces. Asher offered a quick, clever solution, his mind already working. Let's say that Ryder and I contacted them, the Dorge Organization, to help us find our mate. He'll say our mate had been pretending to be human all these years, living among humans with our triplets, keeping a low profile. Now, we will send Callum and Sebastian on their way, appearing to give them protection as a show of gratitude for their help. Henry stepped up, his voice confident. That could work, that's a plausible cover story. This is the first time that the Alpha King hasn't gotten this close to capturing us, to actually cornering us. I want to add that Isla leaves, now, before he sees her face. Isla complained immediately, her usual feistiness resurfacing. Why should I leave? I can handle myself. I told her, my voice firm and logical. You are inheriting the Dorge Organization, Isla, the very top. So he will know you at one point, your face will become known. It is better if he never sees your face in direct reference to us, as part of our inner circle, until much later, when you are in a stronger position. Isla nodded, acquiescing that it was a good, strategically sound plan. Mom turned towards the border, her resolve firm. Let's do it then. Let's face him. She marched forward with everyone but Isla. Isla herself had already turned to go back to the pack house and protect herself, melting into the shadows. Ryder took up the mantle as Alpha, his posture regal, to confront the Alpha King. No one really knew his actual name, but everyone simply referred to him as the Alpha King. Ryder started, his voice dripping with an almost theatrical sarcasm. What have we done to have you grace us with your esteemed presence, Alpha King? I could literally feel the sarcasm oozing from his question, coding every syllable. He could get away with it because without the specific tone of voice, the sentence felt superficially respectful, though it was meant to be anything but. The famous Alpha King wasn't even the one that answered. It was his assistant, or as some knew him, the king's brother, William. He answered, his voice smooth and authoritative. Someone from your pack, a loyal member, has called us to inform us that some leaders of the Dorge Organization were on your territory, harboring within your borders. Asher nodded, acknowledging the truth of the tip. That is true, they were here. William, the brother whose name was now known, continued, his gaze sharp. As you know, each Alpha was instructed to turn in said people if they ever came across them, to immediately apprehend them. Ryder crossed his arms, his posture relaxed but defiant. Those orders are no longer admissible when it comes to mates, as it is clearly stated in the ancient treaties. William let a ghost of a smile grace his lips, a fleeting, almost predatory expression. True. How does that particular clause apply to you, then? Asher took a step forward, his voice steady. He looked to the Dorge Organization, contacted them, to help us find our mate, who had been lost to us for years. Ryder clutched Georgiana closer to him, a protective gesture, a clear declaration. We found her. She is our mate, and she is here with us. William then asked, his eyes sweeping over the group. Who are the other 4 men behind you? Georgiana turned around, facing William directly, her voice clear and strong. My sons, Henry and Oliver. Their sister is at the pack house, protecting herself. The other 2 are Callum and Sebastian, my trusted friends. There was a loud, heavy silence that hung in the air, thick with unspoken implications. William finally spoke, his voice tinged with disbelief. Callum and Sebastian, creators and leaders of the Dorge Organization? Asher nodded, his gaze unwavering. Yes, we have promised them safe passage in exchange for helping us bring our mate back, for giving us our true mate. The Alpha King and William both let out a low, guttural growl, a sound of frustration and suppressed anger. We could take them by force, right here, right now. Asher stepped forward, his resolve unwavering. No, because a treaty has been made, a binding agreement. All of their people are allowed onto my territory. If you attack them, if you dare to touch them, they will call their people, with my explicit permission and backing, and they will retaliate, swiftly and powerfully. William took a step back, his face grim. Fine, we will be off. But we will return, Alpha. At this point, I had to do my damnedest not to laugh out loud. It sounded like the line came straight out of a bad Disney movie, spoken by the villain, the melodramatic antagonist. Like, seriously. With them gone, their presence finally gone from our borders, Ryder turned to Callum and Sebastian. I think it is safer for you to go back to your base now, to your safe haven, rather than to remain here, risking further conflict. Callum stood firm, his gaze on Mom. Georgiana, are you absolutely sure that you want to stay here, with them? Mom nodded, her eyes clear and resolute. I can't leave them again, Callum. Not now that I know the truth, not when I have a chance to rebuild. Callum and Sebastian then ran off the property and disappeared into one of our hidden tunnels, a secret passage for the organization. The Alpha King and his entourage were probably wanting to ambush them on their way back home, hoping to capture them. Tough luck for them. We all headed back to the pack house, a collective sigh of relief escaping us, where our mate, Oriel, and Isla were patiently waiting. Ryder and Asher had already mind-linked their pack, sending out a reassuring message that the danger was over, that the threat had passed. The moment we arrived at the pack house, Oriel was on us in an instant, her arms wrapping around us in a fierce, protective hug, a sign of her relief. Isla peacefully came out after her, looking utterly nonplussed, as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. She asked, her voice calm and curious, "So, what happened out there? Give me the full rundown." Epilogue. Georgiana's point of view. 2 years. 2 glorious years had passed since I had been back, truly back, with my mates. And without a doubt, they had been the best 2 years of my entire life. It had taken us a little while, a period of gentle understanding and rebuilding, to reach the point where we were finally marked and mated, our bonds sealed, unbreakable. I was also pregnant again, brimming with new life, this time with fraternal twin girls, 2 little miracles on the way. I was now living full-time at the pack house, nestled securely with my mates, finally where I belonged. Henry and Oliver had moved there too, bringing Oriel with them, who was also pregnant with twins, 2 identical boys this time. Just yesterday had been the incredibly proud ceremony for Henry and Oliver to officially take over the pack as alphas, with Oriel by their side as their Luna, a powerful trio ready to lead. 2 days before that, it had been Isla, my fierce and brilliant daughter, who had taken over the Dorge Organization, stepping into her rightful place. Callum and Sebastian, my unwavering friends, had decided to go help some of our struggling branches in Europe, their expertise invaluable, but they now reported directly to my daughter, a testament to her capabilities. I was so immensely proud of all my children, of the incredible individuals they had become. My mates and I had decided to take some time, to tour the world a bit, to truly enjoy each other's company without the weight of immediate responsibilities. We planned on coming back here after the birth of our children, but we had a blissful 7 months before the babies were ready to make their grand entrance into the world. That was more than enough time to simply enjoy each other's company, to savor every moment. We planned to visit all of the Dorge Organization's branches, to see the good work being done, and to simply enjoy life, truly live it. Henry and Oliver were more than ready to become alphas, their confidence and bonds solid, with Oriel, strong and healing, as their Luna. As for Isla, well, she was a little spitfire, a force of nature. She was exactly what the organization needed to not just survive, but to truly thrive in this complex supernatural world. I was sad for her, a small ache in my heart, because she had not yet found her mate, that deep, soul-shaking connection. But that, I knew, meant that the moon goddess had truly special plans for her, a destiny grander than she could yet imagine. It was a new start for everyone, a fresh chapter filled with hope and promise. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like and share this video to continue listening to this type of story daily and also, to appreciate this community too. I would like to hear your wonderful opinion about this story. Please comment below.